And hello, everybody, and very abrupt welcome to the Rines Report. This is your host, Tristan Blake Rines. Oh, man. I'm your Donovan Vattelana. Later on, I'll be joined by Terrance Schoefield as well as Nicholas Penninger from the No Limits podcast on YouTube. We have quite a bit to talk about today. Colin Kaepernick's lack of reception with NFL teams, the March Madness Final Four, upcoming NFL draft from the Cavaliers, and the upcoming playoff run raising questions. So, once again, I'm going to apologize really quickly for that super loud soundbite when I checked.
Hey, at least you woke them up.
Well, no, man, because I feel really bad because I came in here and checked everything, and as soon as I go down the computer music, it makes this hissing noise like it did last week. And we got to get that resolved. So I feel really bad. But we can start off with Colin Kaepernick basically being blacklisted, I'm pretty sure is the term for it. By NFL teams at this point. So what exactly is your take on why Colin Kaepernick hasn't landed anywhere yet?
Well, I think that it puts ownership in a tough position because anytime there's a huge following for a backup, for example, Tim Tebow was also. Yeah. I'm not saying it's the exact same situation, obviously, but we can look that Tim Tebow had some success. But he had so many people pushing for him to be the starter always. Yeah. Like he had a huge following wherever he went. That it's almost like he can't truly fulfill your role as a backup because there's always that drive for you to be in a position that could compromise the starter's position. Yeah. So and also, I'm not saying that his publicity is negative because he's donated so much money to Meals on Wheels after they got their funding cut. Black Lives Matter. Yeah, he's made significant donations when I think it's kind of ironic some people that criticize him probably haven't made those donations to their organizations that they follow. But I think that it's almost like even if you agree with what he's doing and even how he's doing it, it's almost like you don't want your organization to take the hit from people who don't understand what he's doing.
And last year was a big year politically in the media and everything for him. Tons and tons of backlash for supporting groups that need more recognition, and he basically was giving them more of a figurehead. And the way he was going about it, how else do you want to do it?
Silent, peaceful protest. I mean, exactly. You can't. I don't think that there's a better way to do that than silent, peaceful protest. I think maybe some people got a little offended when he had like the pig socks with the police hats.
I could see people taking issue with that one.
I mean,
personally, but otherwise, outside of it, everything else that he did,
which
is just kneeling during the Pledge of Allegiance. He has the right to do so.
Oh, exactly.
And he can't do that. It's trampling all over our veterans. I understand from a veteran standpoint, but he's not going against what the military is doing.
Those veterans are also fighting for his right to protest.
Exactly, which is the whole paradox.
Yeah, exactly.
But isn't against military.
Yeah,
it was against people being gunned down for things that.
And he feels that there's a system that's oppressing a group that he feels that he needs to defend in some way. And whether or not you agree with how he did this protest, we can agree that this is the point of a protest, is to draw attention to an issue, and it has drawn probably a lot more than he could have ever guessed in his life. Yeah. Just not standing during the Pledge of Allegiance,
And a lot of people will side with him, and I think it comes down to a certain number of people, just going, oh, well, I think it just comes down to your values personally.
Yeah, I mean, that's what all this is right now.
And speaking on the NFL front on why he hasn't been signed yet, Joe Thomas from the Cleveland Browns had an interesting take on it, and he goes, my thoughts on Colin Kaepernick, teams don't currently view him as a starting quarterback, and NFL's teams accept zero distractions from their backup quarterbacks. I think I think it's fair to say that because if it's a starting caliber guy, you know what I mean? Like NFL teams will be like, oh well, he wins games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, if he's going to be your backup, the amount of things that come with him being your backup.
Yeah.
Like how you were saying, it's just more of a conflict of, what kind of attention are you bringing to the team? Yeah. It's not necessarily saying that you're against what he supports. But it's more of, do we want to have, this much going against us
for somebody that's not technically contributing until they have to.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about Vince Young with the Dream Team comment, with the Eagles when we signed him, that had huge backlash because that year was awful for us, and it feels like everybody was like in a position where they wanted to see the Eagles fail because of that.
Yeah.
So you can see that a backup. I'm not saying that these two are anywhere close to each other, but it's almost like people would be rooting against whatever team he's the backup for if they don't agree with his policies, which is not necessarily what you want to do just heading into an NFL season.
Yeah.
I think with plenty of time, he will be, because it's not like he's bad. He has Super Bowl experience.
He's a former Super Bowl caliber quarterback. He took the job from Alex Smith at one point, and I think more of the problem was that the team kind of crumbled around him.
Yeah.
After that season, the entire head coaching staff was gone.
Yeah,
a ton of the defensive players.
In general,
they just scorched the entire organization within a matter of 2 years after that.
Yeah, isn't it crazy how the mighty fall so quick sometimes?
It really does, though, because they were in the NFC Championship for three years
separate
straight.
Years, yeah.
And he finally, somebody finally took them there, Colin Kaepernick, and great coach John Harbaugh got them that close every time. That's a testament.
Jim Harbaugh.
Excuse me, Jim.
No, Jim Harbaugh. Yeah, no, great. And the 49ers were foolish for letting him go. I mean, maybe his last season there he wasn't as effective, but I don't think somebody can take you to 3 consecutive NFC Championship games and a Super Bowl appearance.
Yeah.
And you can just say to yourself.
The only other person that comes to mind for me is Andy Reid when he was with the Eagles, and he took the Eagles to 4 straight NFC Championships and a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Very similar kind of success.
Well, I think Andy Reid was in more of a dark place because his son had recently passed away before that, and then it seemed like his kind of love of football had dwindled a little bit. I don't think he would have had success in Philadelphia as much as he did before that. It's almost like we kind of needed to break ties with him just so he can move on and be successful somewhere else, which he is very successful with the Chiefs, an organization that before him was almost nothing in recent years. So I can understand that to a certain extent, but it's not like I don't think one bad year for Jim Harbaugh merits just getting rid of him.
No. And that's the problem with the NFL, I feel, as a total. But I feel like the ownership, it was like, we're just going to start building again. That's how it's going to go, even though we had a great coach. And it wasn't necessarily that he was let go. It was also that he didn't want to be there after a while, too. Because he had tons and tons of problems with the GM. Didn't really enjoy working with him, as well as them making so many moves constantly after they were very successful. So he's like, well, I'm gonna get paid tons of money to go back to my alma mater at Michigan, and I can make them a huge success.
And
also,
it's amazing
think about
the
this.
turnaround on that too.
It helps Michigan because it's almost in the way that I would imagine a lot of recruits go with Saban in Alabama. Because you have a head coach who used to coach under Belichick, who coached at a head coaching level in the NFL, and he might not have been as successful. He was still head coach in the NFL and had that experience.
NFL experience, yeah, exactly.
So then people were like, oh, Jim went to the Super Bowl. This guy took his team to the playoffs almost every year. Plus, and now he's back in college.
He was the coach of Stanford before that, too, before he was in... So I mean, he has college experience too. So I mean, that's why I'm kind of confused that Chip Kelly hasn't kind of taken a step down and gone back to the college level.
Well, I feel like it's more of a resilience thing.
He just doesn't want to.
I feel like it's more of like, I'm gonna hit my head against this wall until something breaks. I mean, because the first couple of seasons weren't too bad. I will say that.
Oh no, they weren't.
Under the Eagles, he took them to the playoffs once.
As a coach, he's not a bad coach. He's there's lots of word for it that I will not use on the radio, but he's not the best guy in terms of working with players. That's why I feel like in college he's more successful.
He wanted to take a lot of the alumni students, former football players from Oregon.
And I mean, shout out to him for being committed to them, but I feel like he'd be better in college only because kids are more inclined to listen to you than
Yeah.
adults. Like, you're more likely to win over kids who don't have the experience.
Yeah.
Basically. And plus,
It's a college system as well.
yeah, you're not going to have your whole career at Oregon. You're
Yeah.
going to have a couple years at Oregon, then you're probably going to move on to the next level.
But if it doesn't work out, a lot of people go back. And I just feel like it's more of him being a little more stubborn and saying, "Oh, I just don't want to go back because I've earned being in the NFL."
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't blame him for what
And
he's trying to do.
He could be an offensive contributor somewhere.
Oh, yeah, most certainly. I feel like he's a great offensive coordinator, just not a head coach. He just doesn't have the personality for a head coach, in my opinion.
I mean, there are a few teams that could probably use some help offensively. Let's say, like, a Cleveland, maybe if Hugh Jackson was willing to part with the run-heavy offense like he has been.
Yeah.
Chip Kelly's a little more... It's a more run option from what I had seen with Nick Foles, but he made Nick Foles a guy who...
Yeah, you make Nick Foles into a run option.
They made that offense successful. When they went to the playoffs, even though they exited first round.
Yeah.
It was still a playoff run.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think, I feel like he could fit in most places.
Oh yeah, no. Offensively, I feel like he just needs to change some up a bit because he refused to use the I formation at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as he got fired and Pat Shurmur took over for the Eagles, the I formation was immediately better than what he had been running. So I feel like he just needs to adjust, which, that's asking Chip Kelly to adjust is like asking me to wake up and feel immediately awake in the morning. It's just not possible.
For an 8 a.m.
Yeah, for an 8 a.m. I'm gonna be half asleep the entire time. That's how Chip Kelly is with trying to adjust. He just can't do it.
Let's see. Well, and back on the Kaepernick front, Johnny Manziel has been getting more interest in teams recently than Colin Kaepernick, which to me, if you put it in that kind of perspective, is kind of, confusing. To me, because Manziel has gone through a few rehabs already.
Yeah.
At NFL level, he's okay. He is more of a backup, but he's never been anywhere past like a few wins.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah.
Manziel had a lot of potential coming out of college, but he couldn't put down partying.
Isn't it strange?
To be a professional. And that, to me, merits less interest than Kaepernick.
Yeah, I mean, I think that draws the ire of coaches everywhere. And the fact that somebody that's donated so much of their salary, which, he's risking a lot because if he doesn't get signed, he's not going to replace that salary. Mm-hmm. He's just not going to – he's just losing money at this point.
Yeah. And you're not – because of the lack of productive play, you're not going to get as many endorsements either.
Exactly. So it's weird to see all of this negative attention on Colin Kaepernick, but us kind of forget about Johnny Manziel and like the way he's gone about his career, because Johnny Manziel he may have had some potential, but what little potential he had. I was
excited for the kid coming out of college, going to Cleveland.
As a college kid, I was very excited to see a college kid make it, and then. Because, he's the prototypical, I'm going to have fun, party, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm going to go out on Saturdays and make these huge plays.
But he's also the type of college kid that doesn't want to stop because he's in the limelight in college. I feel like he doesn't really necessarily want to leave that. I feel like it was a
mistake on his part going in as early as he did.
Oh, definitely.
Because you give a guy millions of dollars... And he's just coming, oh, yeah, I love partying. Let's give this dude $1 million.
Yeah.
Let's go do that. Let's see exactly what he does with millions of dollars worth of salary.
Yeah.
Oh, I wonder why that happened.
Yeah. Well, I remember there's a couple
it's
of famous...
more the irresponsible nature of... I feel like there needs to be more maturity for some of these guys coming out.
Yeah.
And I feel like Manziel would be a perfect instance, example, more or less, of... what not to do once you have millions of dollars.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. I feel like there's a lot of NFL players that have gone through this, but because we're so aware of it through media and stuff like that, it's so easy to share this that he's had a spotlight put on him, just like Colin Kaepernick. But it's amazing that unprofessionalism kind of is superseded by protest. It's like nonviolent, silent, peaceful protest versus unprofessionalism and possible drug abuse and you say to yourself that the possible drug abuse is less harsh than protesting.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of a strange way to think about the NFL operating?
I feel like publicity-wise, the NFL has some issues. Well, because think about this. Fair enough, Ray Rice hasn't been back in the league. Okay?
Yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, if you've seen the video of what him hitting his wife, you'd be like, no, this guy's a monster. Don't let him back in the league.
Exactly.
There's evidence out there that, I don't know, Greg Hardy. This dude's Nick, Terrance and I have all talked about Greg Hardy, but I don't think you and I haven't touched on it yet. Greg Hardy, per the reports, had taken his girlfriend and like thrown her on a pile of assault rifles.
Oh my god!
Like just whoosh, gone.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen
he hit her or something, and as well as threw her on like a pile of assault rifles. Dude, this guy was insane.
There's so many reports of things like that.
But he can get after the quarterback real good.
Yeah, right.
That's what Jerry Jones is sitting there.
Well, doing. I mean, there's in sports, it's almost like these things are just kind of not. I'm not gonna say brushed under the rug because they're not, because we talk about them, but it's almost like we see people like Floyd Mayweather, who's had multiple domestic claims against him, and Greg Hardy has had multiple claims against him, and even Terrell Suggs, multiple claims against him. Those players are still playing because they I guess the coaches feel like they contribute. Well, Greg Hardy's not right now. But
he's currently going.
He's currently off, but it's funny when they think that you can still produce, they don't care about all the baggage. But Colin Kaepernick, who I think silently protesting,
bringing awareness to causes that needed the awareness. Really.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying
now being, like I said, blacklisted from NFL teams.
Yeah,
and we're not going to be interested in him. Like, a good example of like,
there's not even interest. It's crazy.
No, and in the sense of moving in the right direction. I mean, Joe Mixon has had multiple teams come out because he's going to enter the draft. Oklahoma University running back, who was really good on the football field. There's video of him assaulting a woman.
I remember seeing it. Yeah,
and the Miami Dolphins, as well as the Patriots, and I'm sure a number of other teams have come out
Eagles
publicly
have
and said
also come out
that they will not, are showing no interest in him, will not draft him.
He's gonna get drafted. I mean, like even if it's like the 7th round, or even if he goes undrafted, I think he's gonna get picked up by a team. Just the way the NFL is with supply and demand.
Now, think about this. Like La'el Collins, the lineman for the Cowboys, was merely we're just checking up suspect, and one of his former girlfriends had gotten murdered or something like that in California, and he was playing football in Louisiana. Right, so they're like, oh, well, he could be, we're just going to look. We don't think there's anything here, evidence-wise, but we just want to, former boyfriend, whatnot. So he's a suspect. Now, nobody drafted him. This is a first-round potential guy. Nobody drafted him, but the Cowboys ended up picking him up after it came out that he was innocent. But they got him for, a 3-year, $1 million a year, which is not...
Yeah.
That's a steal for guys like that.
Yeah, I mean, he's...
But I feel like if there's evidence out there, or excuse me, if it's like, oh yeah, well this guy we know, we're very confident that there's no wrongdoing. Good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm all for people, either if they're cleared, fine. If they serve time for what they've done and they actually go through rehabilitation process, because that's the point of the rehabilitation system. Is to get people through the crimes that they've done and try to get them back to a normal functioning level of society. I think Michael Vick is probably the best scenario.
Yeah, I was just about to ask.
I mean, if you look at him before he went to prison and him after he came out of prison, he's a much better person.
Humble guy.
Yeah, much more humble. He goes out and he works with animal charities and stuff like that,
as well as communities
and stuff. He has a lot of community outreach as far as that particular area.
There are tons of people who will, of course, never forgive him for what he did.
Exactly, and
I don't like to pick sides necessarily with this.
Yeah, no, it's a very touchy subject.
He's from my area. Like I said, I've said a few times, he went to the high school I graduated from.
Yeah,
And so he's definitely very big around the Newport
I mean,
area.
he's big around this
Hampton.
area too. Tech,
Yeah,
you know,
all over. Well, yeah, Tech's down the street. Everybody knows who Michael Vick is.
Yeah,
and
Marcus Vick.
And, well, Marcus, we just kind of sweep him under the rug. Yeah. Marcus Vick went from being a quarterback in college, by the way, to being a wide receiver for the Dolphins, and then ended up getting arrested. So,
gosh,
no good story ever starts with Florida man.
Yeah,
it's one of those great little jokes that I've heard through my roommate. Like, yeah, no good. Vegan journalism major too. He'd be like, yeah, no good news story ever starts with Florida man.
That's good. I like that.
Oh man, but yeah, it's back to Michael Vick. Michael Vick's really big around the entire state of Virginia. Now, a lot of people, like I said, my stepdad for a long time. We owned pit bulls, all that kind of stuff growing up. He's like, I can't stand Michael Vick. Hate Michael Vick. After that all that came out, hate Michael Vick. Now, times passed. Now he still cannot stand Michael Vick, as far as I know. But the communities around where he's visited are still like, well, we're willing to move past it. We've seen that he's changed.
He's trying.
But no matter what you do, some people will just always hold it against you.
I can understand.
I'm not holding
that.
one side or the other. I'm just.
I can completely understand why they would feel that way, because what he did was atrocious.
Yes.
But even after he served his time and proved that, hey, I'm a better person than I was.
I mean, have you seen the documentaries that they did?
I haven't seen them, but I've read multiple stories about it.
And I don't know. They're interesting to watch. I will say check those out. I'm pretty sure they're ESPN 30 for 30s. You can probably look them up. Interesting stories overall.
Well, I mean, also it's kind of strange because you can kind of compare the two players because they both kind of have some weaknesses, but their strengths are also similar between Colin Kaepernick and Michael Vick. They're both run heavy, but they have difficulty reading opposing defenses sometimes. But they're dual threat quarterbacks, which is strange because Michael Vick got picked up and that caused a lot of controversy. But I feel like it might be almost as much controversy if Colin Kaepernick gets picked up as a backup somewhere, and he hasn't done anything wrong. I mean, legally, definitely he hasn't done anything wrong, and protesting, he's done nonviolent, silent protesting.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's shown to be a model character,
and he's shown to do all these things for modeling or for to be a stand-up guy. I mean, he's donated to charity, and it's not like he doesn't have value to him. And people can argue why he's doing these things. Maybe they're saying he's doing it for publicity.
Yeah.
But even if he is, he's actually doing these things. He's not just saying, oh, I'm going to try to help these people out. And then, make an appearance, shake some hands, pat a couple kids on the head.
What's crazy is about this time last year, we were all talking about, I know me personally, I was talking about how I couldn't get my head around Colin Kaepernick not wanting to go to the Broncos. So I just thought about that off the top, by the way. It doesn't necessarily mean anything to the story. I'm just saying that I couldn't believe that he was like, oh, well, I don't want to take any less money to go play for a Super Bowl team because Peyton Manning had just retired. Brock Osweiler just left. It's crazy how a lot of things had happened within the course of a year, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's been wow, you're completely right. I mean, if I look back from the last year, I mean, just from his perspective, I wonder how much the league has changed from basically, you're in the Super Bowl and you could potentially be a contender year after year. Yeah,
and then your entire team's like just either retires, gets released, head coaching changes.
You get benched
a number
for
of
Blaine
changes.
Gabbert, you know?
Nothing against Blaine Gabbert, but he's not necessarily...
plenty against Blaine Gabbert. Not from you, but from me, at least.
That's... I guess it's more of a personal thing, Blaine Gabbert, between everybody, and when it's all said and done.
I feel like...
I don't have anything against Blaine Gabbert.
Yeah.
It's more of just... I think he's like a decent... He's not necessarily a great starter. He's an okay quarterback.
And that's how I feel about Colin Kaepernick. I feel like he is he's at least a solid backup, at least.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement.
And so I believe he will get a shot, definitely
somewhere. I think it's excuse me, goodness, trying to clip my thoughts here, talking a little too fast. I think that come draft time, he will have a team before the preseason starts. Now, the matter of which team it's going to be, I think that takes a little bit more effort to figure out. Because Cleveland, we all feel, is going to be in... We might as well just transition from here to the draft. So let's start with talking about the draft as well.
Gotcha.
The Cleveland Browns have a lot of picks in this year's draft. Now, when they get a quarterback in the first round and, say, a Deshaun Watson, since they did release RG3, they have Brock Osweiler, but I feel like they will release him at some point
probably.
Because they can take the cap hit.
Oh, definitely. They have a ridiculous amount this year.
Exactly. They can take the cap hit. I feel like they can get a quarterback. They can get a really good supporting cast. If Kaepernick were to go to the Browns and possibly mentor a guy like a Deshaun Watson or a Kaiser or a number of other quarterbacks, really, I don't feel like it would be a bad situation because you have a guy who's been in the Super Bowl, wasn't necessarily the best quarterback in the league, but he gives that, veteran perspective of, hey, I've been here for the last 5 weeks. I know 5 years. I know exactly what it's like to be extremely successful, but I also know exactly what it's like to be a team that at the end of the year finish second to last.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have that good scope. I feel like he wouldn't be a bad mentor for the quarterbacks. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he, at least from a perspective, like, because he's protesting these things, he's donating to charities. Mm-hmm. He has a good perspective, in my opinion. He cares about things that other people don't think about. Mm-hmm. I feel like that would be a good kind of thing. But I feel like the progression is probably going to go like this. He's going to get picked up by a team the first couple weeks. Mm-hmm. They're going to have him on their roster. And then when cuts start happening, he's probably going to make it to the final cut. And then they're going to say, hey, do we want this backup that's, insert backup that's, here? Do we want this backup or do we want Colin Kaepernick? And I think a lot of people are going to say to themselves, well, Colin Kaepernick is better probably. Maybe can't read defenses as much. But the media
attention that he could bring negatively.
And then I feel like he's going to be a victim of basically the need to cut people. Mm-hmm. And when you say to yourself, should I cut somebody that's drawing all this attention?
He might end up being very similar to a Tim Tebow situation.
That's pretty much how Tim Tebow's career went in the NFL.
It went really great. He wasn't necessarily a great quarterback the entire time, though. That's just my feelings personally. Yeah. I wasn't a very big fan of Tebow because I didn't like how he played.
Yeah, you might want to edit that part out of the radio.
I have my own personal.
No, I completely agree.
Even if my audience thinks that my opinions are wrong, I still have my own opinion.
His fans are loyal to him. I will give them that. They love their Tebow.
And I'm cool with him playing baseball. I feel like it'd be really interesting to see him play. Major leagues. I'm rooting for him in the sense of I want to see guys transition from one sport and not do very well in the first sport to go to the one I'm doing awesome in this one.
Yeah, right.
I feel like it'd just be awesome to see him play well. Now, back to Tebow in the NFL, had playoff as a Bronco to pedestrian with the Jets. And he was a special teams
That's a
player.
Compliment if you're going to talk about his performance with the Jets.
He was
a backup to Mark Sanchez. And what's the other guy's name? I don't remember who the
Nobody
backup
noteworthy.
was. Yeah, exactly.
But he was a special teams contributor for the Jets, which to me I was a little upset by, in the sense of this guy was a playoff quarterback last season, and the ownership and GM didn't like how he played, so they traded him to a team that needed quarterbacks, and they refused to start him.
Yeah, isn't that strange?
Or to even give him a real chance.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And I feel like...
we'll put him on special teams to make everybody be quiet about it. But no. If you win, at the end of the day, no matter what my personal feelings are on somebody, at the end of the day, if you can win and you take a team to the playoffs, you deserve a little bit more than a third-string quarterback spot.
But, I mean, when other teams get him, they say to themselves, well, I mean, he won with them, but will he win with us?
Well, yeah. And that's also fair. But the Jets at the time, when they picked him up, they were a playoff team.
The Jets should easily have been more open to letting Tebow start.
Yeah.
In my opinion, especially, Mark Sanchez.
I think he threw just as many interceptions as he did touchdowns in his career so far. Something close to those numbers.
Something like that, yeah. No, but... Tim Tebow basically bounced around for a while after that. Basically.
Yeah, he was like a third string for the Patriots during a preseason.
He was also a third string for the Eagles too.
Yeah.
You cut him, and then he goes to the next team and signs for like a week, and then
he
they
basically
cut
sells
him there.
jerseys for a few weeks for teams.
Exactly. That's basically like what his role became, and I feel like I hope this doesn't happen to Colin Kaepernick because I think he deserves better than that at this point for all the good that he's done. He will probably end up with the same scenario happening to him, at least for the first couple seasons. And I think once this is going to die down because people will get bored of talking about almost anything. I think Colin Kaepernick will eventually find work, but he's going to bounce around for a while until he basically finds a place where he fits, which may take some time based off of, people's reactions to how he's been handling things.
Yeah. So moving into the NFL draft, transition very, very smooth right there. Smooth as crunchy peanut butter. We could talk about, I have like the top 5 players for the offensive and the defensive side, as well as someone to watch during this draft coming up. And the Cleveland Browns are definitely the team to watch. First round, at least just for the first round, because they have the number 1 pick. At this point, can you even dispute that Myles Garrett shouldn't be the number 1 pick? After that amazing pro day yesterday, he ran a 4.6 40.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Ooh.
That's fast.
Yeah.
That is very fast. 4, I think his vertical is over 40 inches, which is...
I mean, yeah, you got to go with him.
Insane.
I mean, if I was the Browns... If I was the Browns... Unfortunately for the Browns... they're the Browns. They may...
Unfortunately for the Browns, they're the Browns.
I'm not saying that they're going to repeat
that out. That's definitely going to be the quote going into next season for Donovan. We're gonna plaster that everywhere. Yeah. Unfortunately for the Browns, they're the Browns.
And if they win the Super Bowl, I will let a Browns fan smack me in the face.
I would root for the Browns if they made it to the Super Bowl.
No, I'm totally rooting for them.
That'd be like, that's like when the Chicago Cubs got to the World Series.
Yeah.
I was rooting for the Cubs.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a Sox fan. I don't think that really matters, but I'm just saying, like, I'm a Red Sox fan, baseball-wise, but I was rooting for the Cubs.
Yeah. No, I know exactly. No, I'm rooting for the Browns.
They're the Browns.
Unfortunately for them, they have some curse that I don't know what they did to somebody, but they cursed them bad.
The Browns are a regular topic on the show as well, in case you haven't realized that over the course of this last year. Because they're just a lot of fun to talk about. Because the Browns, at the end of the day, are the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's like maybe a Browns fan that like there's one Browns fan that just hates me right now. Like I don't know who it is, but they're gonna walk up to me one day and they're gonna say,
"Hey, are you that guy who was on Tristan's show? Yeah. Oh, it is you." Screw you.
I disagree with everything you said.
Yeah,
and then they're going to be really polite about it, but they're going to...
I cannot stand the air you breathe.
I've been wanting to let you have a piece of my mind for a while.
I didn't...
They're Cleveland fans. They're nice. They're not...
They can talk to their friends and be like, I wouldn't speak to that guy to spit on him.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But, okay, so bringing it back down to earth here. The NFL... The Browns are still the Browns. That's my favorite quote this entire week. Oh my goodness. So Myles Garrett, overall consensus #1 pick. That's just, I feel like at this point, you can't dispute that anymore.
I mean, that's the way that they should definitely go. I think it's a
defensive end. When you come across defensive ends of this kind of caliber, not every time do we know that the #1 overall pick is going to do great, or even #2, Ryan Leaf. We have a good idea that Myles Garrett can be a very effective player at the pro level.
Oh, yeah. I mean, usually you get indications of that. I mean, it took a while for Jadeveon Clowney, but once he kind of adjusted...
Yeah. Well, through a few injuries as well. He hasn't necessarily been able to stay consistently healthy. But when he's on the field, he makes a big difference.
Oh, he's definitely a difference maker, especially even with J.J. Watt gone. #1 defense in the league. Crazy.
When he comes back, the Texans are going to be a team to watch.
He was...
As soon as they pick up Tony Romo.
Everybody could consensually agree that he was going to have success, no matter how big or small. He was going to have success in the NFL. That's how I think this is going to go for Myles Garrett.
Yes.
And
because you don't want to pull what the Jets did a few seasons ago and pass up on, or not the Jets. Who was #1 real pick for the year that Leonard Williams was drafted, because Leonard Williams has been a very good defensive end too.
Oh yeah,
he's been very effective for the Jets. They love having that big front four on the defensive line. Him, Muhammad Wilkerson, Sheldon Richardson. Those are three big guys. If they hit free agency, people would be.
I would hate to be an offensive lineman playing against the Jets.
I mean, I know exactly how that feels. Well, not exactly how that feels being the offensive lineman. I just have a good understanding of how effective these guys are.
Yeah,
they're in the Patriots division.
And I mean, this is definitely a need for the Browns. I mean, he fits a need. It's not like he's, should we take somebody that we might not need, number one, but is definitely the best player? They definitely need this guy. I think, in my opinion, they need that defensive presence that he brings.
Yeah, and this draft is pretty much stocked up with really good defensive talent. The top 5 prospect in this year's draft are all defensive players.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a good
Miles
year for the
Garrett,
defense.
Solomon Thomas, the defensive end out of Stanford, strong edge rusher, top tier pass rushers in the NFL are very useful. Jonathan Allen, defensive tackle out of Alabama. Elite defensive tackles are rare in the NFL. Starting lineup ready wherever he goes. Marshawn Lattimore, cornerback out of Ohio State. Cornerbacks are a necessity for any team.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Very rarely do you see teams with 2 elite, great starting cornerbacks.
And it's amazing how when one of these teams passes up these guys that there's always a couple guys in the draft, it's like, wow, I wish we had him. Somebody passes him up, and then the guy after is immediately, just burning all the tape they had on all the other players. They're like, I don't care about them. We're going this guy. It's how Jalen Ramsey was for the Jags. A lot of people didn't think he was going to fall that low.
I thought he was going to be going to the Cowboys.
And I feel like the Jags were like, it's not happening. He's not falling to us. And as soon as it happened, they were like, yes!
Jalen Ramsey.
Yes!
Because people had him going top 2, top 3, and he went all the way to 5. That was surprising.
Yeah. And it's funny how that just one change of position can affect the entire draft for the rest. Oh, yeah.
It's so difficult to predict.
The
league puts out something on their website, at least they had the last few years, where they let fans pick the draft. But what happens is the fans have a tough time doing it. At least I do, because teams will like to trade in and out of the first round.
Yeah.
And they don't account for trades in the game.
It's a tough thing to think about. I mean, if you think about Mel Kiper and Todd McShay's career, they try to get it right, but it's like predicting weather, except even harder.
On a few of them here and there, though.
Yeah, exactly. I think everybody whiffs. Oh man, I remember the year Johnny Manziel was coming out. A lot of people were like, "Oh well, I have him projected on my board as number 1."
When he was coming out, I was like, "Okay, well, we'll see." I feel like he's going to Cleveland. I got that one right. Because they're like, "Oh, he's going to Dallas." I'm like, "There's no way he's going to Dallas." Yeah. First off.
Well, Jerry Jones wanted it, though.
He wanted him, but
he really wanted that.
He didn't want to take him at what were they at, 11 or something like that?
No, he was being basically held back by his son, I think, from what I remember hearing about that situation. He really wanted to take him. His son was like, "No, we can't do that."
This offensive lineman out of Notre Dame, Zach Martin, who his first season was an All-Pro player.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they definitely made the right decision. Or I'm sorry, his son made the right decision. Jerry Jones, and I think ever since then, Jerry Jones has basically let his hands off the reins a little bit. But they definitely I'm sorry. Hold on. They definitely could have gone that way. It would not have worked out for them. I feel like a lot of teams basically, or a lot of these forecasters for the NFL draft don't really consider that teams might not want the players that they're projecting so high.
Yeah.
I know it sounds strange, but they projected Johnny Manziel number 1 for multiple weeks. And every week that they said that, I was like, I don't think he's going to go that high. I think he's probably going to go 15 or below at most.
Well, I had him going, that year I had him going to the Browns.
Which
I had him going late, though. But
yeah.
I didn't think he was going to go in the top 10. It was more of hey, we're going to do this. It's going to be some kind of trade. They're going to end up somewhere in the backlog of the 20 pass. And he ended up being 22nd.
Yeah, they did trade up to get him, which, oh man, you got to feel for the Browns.
Cleveland Browns, man.
Still the Browns.
And Jamal Adams, the safety out of excuse me. The safety out of LSU is a dynamic playmaker ready to make tackles. He's been compared a little bit to Landon Collins from the Giants. So those guys are ready to go make plays, go after the ball.
Oh yeah.
stuff like that. I mean, Collins is almost an MVP this year. He almost defensive MVP.
Yeah. I mean, he definitely was probably the Giants' bright spot on their defense.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I liked him coming out of college.
Besides, like, Olivier Vernon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to pronounce that correctly.
You're correct.
Okay, I got you. I mean...
And they just re-signed Jason Pierre-Paul not too long ago, so...
Yeah, and I feel like it was a pretty good deal for them, too.
Yeah.
Jason Pierre-Paul.
Speaking of the Giants, they need to work on that offensive line.
Yeah.
They really do. This draft, offensive line. Go get Ryan Ramczyk out of Wisconsin, the tackle. He's good. The other player for me, those are my top 5 for the defense. But who else to watch? My personal favorite guy coming out of college, Jabril Peppers.
Oh yeah, I mean
everybody loves Jabril Peppers.
Yeah,
he's gonna be dynamic. I'm really hoping he's gonna be something one day.
And it's unfortunate he wasn't able to play in their last game with Michigan. I feel like he's gonna have a tremendous amount of success though.
Yes, at the NFL level, guys who can play versatile like that do very well.
Oh yeah, I mean, because no matter what you need, he can fit that. I think
he can play safe. He plays safety. That's where he's starting at. Safety, can put him at linebacker. So he's one of those dynamic like Cam Chancellor kind of guys, or Mark Barron, Deion Buchanan from the Cardinals, who can go down and sub in, play some linebacker if need be, and he's good at special teams.
Yeah. Who's the guy for the Hawks? Not the Hawks, the Falcons. He's
Keanu Neal.
Yeah. He's like that too. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of similarities between like Cam Chancellor.
Big safety.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like Jabril Peppers.
Everybody's looking for that next Cam Chancellor.
Oh yeah, because I mean, I think he's almost revolutionized the safety position. Like he at least brought it back to like what its former glory was.
And speaking of Cam Chancellor, what do you think of the NFL's ruling on you can't leap over the center for special teams plays?
I feel like
I hadn't seen that until he did it against the Panthers.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't really like a whole topic until he. What was it against the Panthers or was it against the Broncos? It
was against the Panthers. And then other players started doing it. Jamie Collins did it. Let me see. I'm trying to think of other players. Shea McClellan almost got away with it in the Super Bowl. I remember that. And it was really close. But they let it go. It was like, oh, well, he touched the center, so it's technically something.
Yeah, it's
But they changed it now where you can't even do it.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it when it happened. But I could see how it could potentially be a problem if, like, somebody botches the jump and then injures one of the other players.
Well, remember when Troy Polamalu used to do stuff like that? Polamalu, he used to jump the line, like he would dive over defensive linemen, offensive linemen to get to the quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, he just has rare timing that few players have, people have, honestly.
Polamalu was a beast.
Yeah, that's my mom's favorite player, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
He was awesome, man. And a lot of people from where I was back home in Newport News, when I was growing up, like middle school, everybody's like, Polamalu's the best, man. He's the GOAT. Like, this dude's a beast. And I'm like, I have nothing against him being an awesome player, which he is. Or he was, excuse me. But at the time, it wasn't his. My favorite Polamalu play, I feel like a lot of people have up there too, is when they were playing the Chargers in Pittsburgh, and he had the one-hand interception off of the ground.
Oh, I remember that game, actually.
Where he puts his hand right under the pass from Phillip Rivers, like right before it hits the ground, and he picks it off with one hand. Yeah. That was an amazing defensive play. Yeah. And I still remember because I was watching and I was like, how? I looked at the ball hit the ground. I was like, how did he do that? I was so confused. Polamalu. He was a beast, man. Madden cover guy. He's got a couple rings. Very deserving to be in the Hall of Fame one day.
Oh, immediate Hall of Fame.
Of course.
Hands down. First ballot. No, but yeah, I feel like Jabril Peppers could potentially be, maybe not Troy Polamalu level, but...
Maybe Cam Chancellor close.
I definitely say he's probably more, probably Cam Chancellor level, definitely.
We can move on to the offense now, too. And the rankings for these players are in order from CBSSports.com. And the number one overall prospect on that website in particular is O.J. Howard, the tight end from Alabama.
Really?
Yes. Which is kind of surprising to me. Because, comparison-wise, they have him close to playing like a Jimmy Graham kind of level. And I feel like it may be because the hype for tight ends has gone up a lot in the last few years.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's significant mismatch mismatch problem.
That's one of those days.
It's
the season change.
Yeah,
so
right.
Really
Yeah,
making the nasal passages go a little
yeah,
strange.
yeah. No, but no, it's mismatch problems. Whatever. If you have a great tight end,
Because we saw that he can go gun and block.
oh yeah,
This last season for Alabama, that they can implement him in a blocking, system, and it can work.
mm-hmm.
I'm not saying he's Rob Gronkowski. He plays a little bit more like Jimmy Graham because he's fast. He can play vertically.
Just basically a giant wide receiver.
Yes.
If you think about it, yeah,
And can catch pretty well for tight ends. He catches.
yeah.
At the pro level.
I mean, if you have to be able to catch as a tight end if you want to get drafted in the first round. Yeah, exactly.
Nowadays.
Yeah.
Breakaway speed for tight ends. Like being fast at tight end now is a luxury.
Oh
Think
yeah.
about that.
Yeah, exactly. If you have a fast tight end, your team's probably in a really good position.
You have entire mismatches.
Who's gonna cover him? Is it gonna be a guy
Linebackers
that's
aren't fast enough. Safeties aren't big enough.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's the whole thing about why Jimmy Graham and Rob Gronkowski and Travis Kelce do so well.
Yeah.
It's because they create mismatches no matter what. The only players in the league I can think of that can cover tight ends are Cam Chancellor or Earl Thomas, because Earl Thomas just plays big.
Oh, I mean Earl Thomas. Yeah, he definitely can cover a ridiculous amount of field at one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hopefully.
And you don't want to commit corners to these guys either.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, especially just because how many corners can cover them like effectively.
I can only think of like Richard Sherman and.
Yeah,
about it.
Probably something along those lines. Only because it's like you have to reach so high because their wingspan is just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Like and most of them are ridiculously tall too. So when you talk about
Gronkowski's 6'6", 6'7",
yeah,
built like a brick house.
Oh yeah,
dude's a beast. But O.J. Howard at the number one on offense. It's tough for me to say he's number one. Tight ends are great and all, but they don't make the team, win all the time.
I mean, it depends on what team you're talking about.
It depends on what team. But the thing with tight ends is that they're either really big hits or they're big misses. To me.
Yeah, definitely.
But if you're first round talent, then they usually do pretty fine.
Yeah,
like Vernon Davis, Eifert was a first rounder, but he hasn't been able to stay on the field as much.
Yeah, I would say that was injuries.
I just don't know if I personally want to take a tight end in the first round.
I know what you mean. The tight ends
I have nothing against tight ends, but it's more of just like I don't know. They have a lot of things they have to do.
Exactly. I mean, that's how running backs a lot of times are. I mean, like, because you can get a good running back in the 5th round. Yeah. Like, you can get a solid running back.
David Johnson wasn't taken until like round 3, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the position itself has been devalued. It almost makes you wonder if he's number
Besides
one ranked
this year,
offense. Yeah. Like, what do they see in him? I mean, he's great.
Speaking of running backs, I think the last couple of years we've come into some luxury at the running back position coming into the draft. Ezekiel Elliott being a first round draft pick.
Yeah, I mean,
Todd Gurley.
Yeah.
And now this year, might as well mention them now. Leonard Fournette and Dalvin Cook are 2 and 3 at prospect.
And then the guy from Stanford.
McCaffrey.
McCaffrey, yeah.
He could slide out of round 1, but
he'll
from what
probably
I've seen,
be a second rounder. Yeah, if I had to guess.
He could be. I feel like he's a late round 1. That's to me. He'd end up going to some team as a really dynamic player.
Yeah, they definitely need to use him more of like either like Danny Woodhead type of running back.
Yeah.
Or basically how the Patriots use a lot of their running backs that
I could
aren't
see
named
it.
LeGarrette
He reminds me a little bit of his catching ability reminds me of Shane Vereen, Danny Woodhead, but he runs really well. I'm trying to put a name to the way that he runs. When he's in the open field, he runs pretty well. That's all I'm saying. I can't really think of anybody close.
Yeah, no, he definitely has a lot of potential.
He's great footwork.
He just has to be utilized in the correct way, and I feel like it's going to take a special team to do that. Like a system.
We've also seen that he can run the ball like 25 times a game, if need be.
Oh, yeah.
Because at Stanford, they relied on him very heavily.
To be fair, that was college, and I don't know.
But still, it's just more of like, hey, I can play 25 downs a game with the ball in my hands and
I know what you mean,
do well. It's more of one of those like, how much wear can we put on this guy? Well, he's shown that he can be resilient.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying give the guy rookies year, first game out, 25 times, but I'm saying that gradually, that you could probably develop that.
Oh, definitely. I mean, he definitely has a lot of potential. In all, I don't know if I would say he's the prototypical complete package, but he's definitely a solid, versatile running back.
The team that I could see him playing very well with right out the gate would be Green Bay.
Oh, with Aaron Rodgers? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And they have a good offensive line.
They could probably even substitute him in.
They need a running back. That's the thing, too, is they need...
Oh, yeah, they've been having wide receivers come back at that position.
Ty Montgomery, he didn't do a bad job, but dude's a wide receiver.
I would say if you can teach a wide receiver to play running back in the NFL, then you're probably able to take a good running back and then make him even better. And I think that's exciting.
To me, that's a great fit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think that would be...
It fills in the need.
I'm actually glad that you brought that up. It's a really good pick, actually.
Oh, well, we'll see what happens.
Something to watch for. Yeah, exactly.
If I get that one right, drinks on you. No. Let's see. So number 4, Mitch Trubisky out of UNC, the quarterback. Now, from what I've read on him, strong in the pocket, a really good passer. He's very athletic as well too. Very strong quarterback. Coming into this, I'm not going to lie that I didn't really know too much about Mitch Trubisky except that I'd seen him powerlift like 300 something pounds or whatever. He's just a really strong guy, is all I'm saying. And people have him going above Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson's my 5 out of Clemson. He plays big on the big stages. You can hone in on his skills, and he could be something really special.
Oh, yeah. Refined, I think Deshaun Watson has the potential to be one of the best quarterbacks drafted.
You've seen him on the big stages.
Yeah.
Against, like, Alabama, has really good games.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, Alabama has the closest to NFL defenses out of any college team. So it's not like he's not prepared for it. He does well against huge odds against him. He still pulls out.
Mm-hmm. And my player to watch, it's not Deshaun Watson, first off. Because he's on my list of top 5, but he's not one of the guys I wanted to watch and be really particular about. Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback out of Texas Tech, is somebody I think could be really, really special one day. Because he's got the length. A lot of people are comparing him to a potential Matthew Stafford. I can really see him sitting behind Drew Brees with the Saints and having him develop as their backup and then eventually their starter. Because he had a game this last season where he had like 500-something yards and a ton of touchdown passes. From what I understand, and he's impressed at the Combine, his pro day, he could be something to watch.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys I just want to keep an eye on over time.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of potential in this draft. I think this could be one of the best drafts.
It's one of those drafts for quarterbacks that people are starting to realize, oh, well, they don't have to be guys who can come out and start day one.
Yeah, I feel like that's how the NFL should be, where we don't feel like these players have to immediately
contribute. You don't have to rush these guys in.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I know my favorite team has done that. But yeah, I feel like people should sit for a while before they have to be exposed to... Because the timing in the NFL is completely different than college.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much different. Everybody's good.
Yeah, the thing is about the NFL is you're playing... All right, college, you play good talent, right?
Yeah.
But when you get to the NFL, you're playing the guys who went from college, were the best of the best in college.
They are the talent. Yeah, exactly.
They are the best from college going up into the NFL and also had years of veteran experience.
Yeah. Like, I mean, if you look at, like, most teams, they're just stacked with college stars. Like, you know, you'll be playing a college game and you'll encounter some really great people and you're like, wow, they're so good. Everybody in the NFL is like that. Or not everybody, but most of the starters. Most of the players that start in the NFL are those players that everybody was like, wow, that's crazy. I'm playing with this guy, you know? So hopefully people start to realize that these quarterbacks shouldn't be just thrown to the dogs in a manner of speaking. I mean, I know they get practice and reps and stuff beforehand, but...
Trial by fire.
Trial by fire is so difficult to try to manage.
Especially at quarterback in the NFL. Now, Carson Wentz, you being the Eagles fan, played very well, trial by fire-wise. I was impressed with him. A lot of people were really excited the first 5 weeks out. Jared Goff, if he could get some, offensive linemen, I feel like I'd give him more of a fair assessment if he had some decent offensive linemen. And now Andrew Whitworth come as your left tackle, I'd feel pretty secure.
Yeah, I mean I feel a little bit better about it. I just feel bad for him. He just spent most of it on his butt. Like he didn't even get a chance to really play. He just got a lot of pressure on him.
I say Greg Robinson, their left guard from a few seasons ago. They're gonna give him one more chance this next season to, show us that you have potential.
Which is fair. I mean, they got a new coaching staff and stuff like that.
So the Rams are gonna be a team just to be a little more interested in, just Jared Goff in general.
Yeah, I feel like Jared Goff has a lot. I mean, obviously taking number 1 overall.
Well, yeah,
played a little pedestrian, but there's something there.
I personally liked Carson Wentz more than I liked Goff coming out.
Really? Okay.
Yes. I feel like because he ran more of he was more dynamic to me. He reminded me a little bit more of Andrew Luck, and I liked Andrew Luck coming out as well.
Oh yeah.
Goff, I couldn't really put a beat on. He seemed okay. He didn't seem anything crazy. From what I hadn't already seen.
I mean, granted, I don't watch college football as much as I probably should, but
I mean, the tape that I had seen on Goff, it didn't impress me to the point where I was like, this guy's a definitive number 1.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, there wasn't like a moment where I said to myself, okay, this guy hands down number 1. That play or these series
I get that
plays,
feeling out of Myles Garrett. I got that feeling out of Jadeveon Clowney.
Yeah, I mean, you remember seeing the hit of Jadeveon Clowney. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Andrew Luck, I felt that way about Andrew Luck. But Jared Goff, I was like, I just don't know.
Yeah.
He seems like a decent quarterback. I just hate for him to turn out like Sam Bradford.
It would be ironic if he did, I think, both with the Rams.
I'm just saying in the sense of, he gets hurt, and he had a lot of potential, but he went to a team that didn't really know what they were doing offensively, so he didn't do well. But he wasn't bad.
Well, hopefully with some new coaching, it's going to be better for him. I mean,
we'll see.
Yeah, it's definitely like I feel bad for him, especially like that he has to move with the team. The organization's not settled. I feel like with some stability, he'll probably have a lot more success. But until then, you just gotta keep taking those hits, I guess.
I suppose so. So thank you everybody for tuning into the Rines Report so far. Be sure to tune into the Rines Report weekly every Friday at 10 a.m. But if you can't, check out our show on YouTube and Facebook when you search The Rines Report. Rines, spelled R-I-N-E-S. You can also find these pages through my personal website, TristanBlakeRines.com, TristanBlakerines.com. Enjoy the break, everybody. Thank you very much, Donovan Vattelana, for coming on once again this week. When we come back from the break, we will have Terrance Schoefield and Nicholas Penninger. So, a lot of talking.
Yeah, right.
It's quite a mouthful, but thank you for coming on once again.
Appreciate
I will
it.
be seeing you hopefully next week. So
course,
everybody stick around, listen to some tunes.
Love it. Your new favorite station.
You like it, I love it. You like it, I love it. This is your man, Flo Rida.
All the hits. The New River Valley's hit station. RFR. Radio Free Radford.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Rines Report. This is your host, Tristan Blake Rines. I'm joined now by Nicholas Penninger and Terrance Schoefield. Nicholas Penninger from the No Limits podcast on YouTube now, up and running.
Shout out.
Shout out to the No Limits podcast.
No limits.
We all got to get on there.
Gets you
at some
hyped,
point
doesn't it?
soon.
Just hearing that.
Just hearing it, yeah.
You know you got no
I love
limits.
taking a little bit of credit for that name, too. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So let's just get right into it. We talked about Colin Kaepernick a lot in the last half of the show with Donovan Vattelana. We're going to talk about a little bit now.
I'm telling you.
So, Colin Kaepernick. What are you guys' what are y'all's ideas on this entire
He's
thing?
a backup quarterback. He's
Yes.
nothing more, nothing less. He really hasn't done anything for San Francisco 49ers since he had that breakout year.
Yes.
After that, he really went downhill.
But if you wanted to argue that, my thing is that after that year where they went to the Super Bowl, like 2 years after that, the entire team broke down.
I mean, yeah, but that doesn't mean his game changes. That's defense. Most of the players left on defense. If you really want to think about it.
I mean, I understand that, but
And
you
they
went from
did
having
Alex-
Crabtree on your team, who I know Nick over here is ecstatic.
Crabtree's
about
a
Michael
beast.
Crabtree. Well, you go from having like a really reliable wide receiver to nothing against Torrey Smith, but he's not Michael Crabtree.
I mean, yeah, that's true, but
He's not Randy Moss.
But
But that was
Torrey,
late Randy Moss.
but when Torrey Smith went there, Torrey Smith had just came off a Super Bowl championship, I think.
Yeah.
And he was booming. Like, he had a great game. I mean, great year. And he had a great.
Oh, careful.
he had a great year.
Watch that whole table.
He had a great year. And Michael Crabtree was declining. to be honest. And then like he was.
Nick,
he was
Nick
like-
just perked
I mean,
up.
you see how Nick's eyes like rose up like he was about to attack me. Like, what are you saying?
How can he be declining?
But listen,
he was like 2 or 3 years in.
But he had a back. Like he went from. He was up there.
I'm trying to see Terrance explain his way
But
out of this one.
it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good by the time I get finished. Okay.
And
When
will it
Michael
make sense?
Crabtree came, okay,
Okay.
he gonna understand. When he came to the 49ers, okay, he
Okay.
was good. He was really good.
Yes.
And then like he didn't decline. He dipped off. Like he wasn't as productive as he should.
As he was in college.
No, not in college. But that was like how long he had been there already?
Like 2 years. He was
it was
injured.
longer.
He was injured. He got injured, remember, so he didn't do the combine. He was injured right out of college, and people were like really blown. And then I'm pretty sure he got injured right as soon as he started playing for the 49ers.
Oh no.
He was young. He's still young.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
He's like
better.
5 years in right now. How can
I
you
think
be
it's
declining?
longer. I think he's been in there longer than
No,
5
he's
years.
barely been. He's still young.
Man, look and see how long.
declining.
Might as well
Look and
pull it
see-
up.
yeah,
since
you
guys
might-
are gonna
yeah.
argue.
And how old he
Yes.
is now still doesn't even matter because he still wasn't declining on the 49ers.
He wasn't okay. I want to take back that he wasn't declining.
It's because
he dipped
Richard
off.
Sherman made him look bad one time. That
He's
everybody.
29 years old.
Yeah, he's
And
not.
29 and see how long he's been in the
Everybody in the world thought Michael Crabtree was garbage because of Richard Sherman.
Oh yeah, and then like people were putting him as like
He was
12
mediocre.
overall.
Literally.
He's got 9 years of experience,
9 years.
and he spent. Let me see. I'm trying to find his career statistics. Oh hi, no. That was quite a lot.
Yeah, it was.
He spent how long?
He
with,
spent. I'm trying to find his career stats up here. Let's see. Let's go Wikipedia. He was with the 49ers for. He was from 2009 to 2014, and he's
that's
going
6
to,
years.
And when did they go to the Super Bowl?
When did they go to the Super Bowl? They went to the Super Bowl. What, like 2012?
Okay, so 3 years he was in.
Pretty much.
So he was declining in 3 years.
Okay, so he was with them for how many years? Though 6. He was with them
from
for 6
09 to 14.
I told you he was.
5 years.
I
5
said,
years,
he was
mean.
2 or 3 years in when that happened.
Okay, so he was 5 years. When he got there, okay, he had some injuries. Let's put that into factor. Okay, and then he revamped himself when he went to the Raiders. Let's just say that.
He had a better quarterback.
Yeah, because he went from having a garbage quarterback to a really, really good quarterback.
I mean that's an honest statement. Terrance, I'm sorry.
Still-
But I did bring you.
Do you
something.
remember when? Do you remember
Me
when?
and Nick
I-
both got you something. It's an L.
Do you remember when Michael Crabtree was in college?
Yes.
And when he got hurt and everyone was really blown because he was supposed to be like a super high prospect.
Oh yeah.
I still
like-
think it was somewhere. I still think he just dipped off a little bit.
Yeah,
Maybe
because he had
because
Colin Kaepernick.
Well, he
throwing
had
the
an
ball.
but he had
ACL.
Alex Smith too.
The dude came off an ACL.
Oh, Alex Smith.
And he couldn't run his.
What?
The real MVP.
Man, he's come on.
Alex
man.
Smith is the definition of mediocre when it comes to a quarterback.
He was better than Colin Kaepernick.
This
He should-
last season.
Absolutely. And Colin Kaepernick is
I
the
mean,
definition
this
of
last
trash when
season,
it comes to a
Alex
quarterback.
Smith is not a bad quarterback.
I didn't say he's
Yeah.
bad.
Mediocre.
What did he just say?
I'd put him over mediocre.
There's 32 teams. Would you say he's a top 16 quarterback?
Yes.
Top 16?
Yes.
Oh, I'd put him closer to 10.
Right, but I'm saying he's a little bit above mediocre.
Yeah.
But
A little
he's
bit
not
above
mediocre.
A
mediocre.
little more than
He's
half.
not- he's
a
not
little
exactly
more.
mediocre.
He's better than a little more than half the league.
Yeah, that's a fair statement.
So him throwing you the ball is just like almost half the league throwing you the ball.
On a good pass.
That's what I'm trying to say.
I mean, he's no Brock Osweiler.
No, he is no Brock. Okay,
Oh, okay. All right.
Brock is
He's
Brock
no-
was the greatest Bronco ever.
that was the craziest. That was the craziest offseason move.
Oh yeah,
I've
them
seen.
bringing now the Browns are just like we don't even want to pay him.
I love how
16
they
million
gave him away.
in a second round pick.
He
They
literally
gave the Browns a second round pick
plus
to take
him
Brock
for
Osweiler's
nothing.
contract
They literally handed him over to the Browns
for like a fourth round pick.
just because they were willing to pay his contract because the Browns have
Had
more money than anyone
$100-something
knows what to
million
do
dollars,
with.
and they still have more
I
money than
remember
they know what
that
to do
in my
with.
head. I was like, "Wait, what did they get?" Because they did get other stuff. They didn't just give him. There was supplementary.
They
picks.
got a
There's-
second round pick, and they got like a late, like 6th round
Yeah.
supplemental pick, right?
for a
And
guy
then-
who was one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL for 1 year.
dude, I would have banked. I would have
I
saved.
mean, he still
all
gets
of
his
it.
money, so I mean,
He gets some of it.
He gets some.
He gets
I mean-
some of it.
how?
If the Browns can trade him and unload part of his contract, they're willing to pay like half of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not okay. I don't understand how.
I
he
think about
gonna get
that
his money.
because Chase Daniel's about to be the backup for. I'm not saying Chase Daniel's bad. All I'm saying is that Chase Daniel's about to go to the Saints, and the Eagles are about to pay half of his contract to play for the Saints.
So, like, that whole guaranteed money thing,
Yes.
he got some guaranteed money for that year he played,
Right.
but he doesn't get all of it because he
Because he
didn't get
didn't play.
released. His contract didn't get canceled. His contract got moved.
Yes.
So he's still under the same contract
Right,
with
so
the
it's
Browns.
still the same money.
Huh?
It's still the same amount of
Yeah,
Well,
but
no,
this-
he's still getting the same. Where you're coming from is he's getting the same.
What I'm
amount of
saying is
money.
he hasn't cashed out like that contract implies. Like, just because he was one of the highest paid quarterbacks doesn't mean that he right now is rolling in dough.
I mean, no, but he still, in the end, he still gets his money, though, right?
No, he got
Depending
he's
on what
getting
they
his
do with
guarantee.
it.
What we're saying is that for that contract, he got his guaranteed money from that year. Is all
Okay.
we're saying.
But
But like the money he could have made while he played all like
Yeah, he-
16 games of the season or like however many playoff games he played in.
He isn't going to get as much
He
as
isn't
it looks
getting
like
as
he's going to
much.
get.
Okay.
And depending on what they do with his contract, I'm pretty sure they said if they release him still, if the Browns release him, they still barely have to pay any of the money on that contract. I remember what they were saying.
You know that's crazy.
No,
though, 'cause
what they're trying to do is if some other team trades for him, is all they're saying is that they'll take half of the pay cut
Yeah. Yeah. But no, but I heard that if they release him.
because they're trying to just get him off their books, the money off their books, basically.
Yeah, he's garbage.
Is he even he's worse than Cap?
Well, I don't know if I'd say he's worse than Kaepernick.
I would say because Kaepernick, was an effective starter for more than 4 games.
Well, and let's not forget Colin Kaepernick's defense
Was
literally
amazing.
would kill everybody.
Who's the
Patrick
linebacker?
Willis.
Yeah.
Patrick
That boy
Willis
was nice.
was
Patrick
the
Willis,
Yeah, he was
Navarro
true.
Bowman, that was when what's his name was still nice.
They had Carlos Rogers when he was playing really well.
They had Alden Smith.
Mhm.
They had Justin Smith.
Dude,
That-
that,
that
they
defense-
had
that was
Ray
before he
McDonald.
That
went
defense
crazy.
was
They had
sick.
Ray McDonald before his domestic stuff.
That defense was sick.
Ahmad Brooks when he was playing like
Who
a
did they beat
beast.
in the NFC Championship game?
Who did they get beat by? Or
No,
who
who
did they
did-
beat?
No, they beat the
Giants.
Yeah, that was the year that the Giants and the Patriots should have gone. Right?
Yeah.
No, that was the year before.
No, that was the year before is when the Ravens and the 49ers should have gone, and they
but-
both lost.
Yeah,
to the
but then they
team.
finally made it the next
No,
year.
who did they beat that year? They beat. I think they got over the hill of Seattle the year they went, and I can't remember who else the 49ers
That
beat.
defense was stacked. That 49ers defense.
The Ravens had gotten through the whole AFC, like the whole trinity of really good teams in the AFC that year. They got
Yeah.
through Pittsburgh,
Patriots.
they got through the Patriots, and I think they got through they got through.
And they beat the
somebody else.
Patriots
They got
and-
through the Broncos that year too.
Yeah, they
I
beat
think
everybody.
I think they beat the Patriots and
No,
They beat the Broncos. They beat
the
the
Broncos
Steelers.
weren't as the Broncos defense wasn't
Wasn't as
there.
good as it
wasn't
is
as
now.
good. Yeah.
But it was still a
Because if
good
you think
team.
now you beat the Broncos, you think of the Broncos.
Well, that was
it
when Peyton
nowhere
Manning
near
was
that.
was right before his great, amazing season
with Wes Welker.
Yes, with Wes Welker, and then
But
the
their
Seahawks
but
came
their
in and
defense
wrecked.
wasn't
45 points.
45 points.
their defense wasn't stacked though.
No, not yet, but they were close.
Yeah.
Then they went. Then who won it the next year? The Patriots.
After which year?
After
Seahawks won it.
Oh, it
then
was
the
the Patriots after that because
yeah.
that was the year the Seahawks repeated as NFC champions.
Yeah.
And then
Lost to y'all.
lost to the
Lost some
Patriots.
bull job.
And then the
Pete
Broncos
Carroll
went
should be-
back after that, won against Carolina. Whoever was like, "Oh, Carolina is like the best team
that
ever."
team was really good. Cam
That-
Newton just had a really bad game.
Yeah,
they messed.
Cam Newton messed up.
yeah.
That whole thing was on Cam Newton.
I don't think he could handle.
He had
pressure
so
of
many
Super Bowl.
open receivers that he overthrew. Literally, almost every
I
single
was
one of his
watching that
passes
game.
was
I
overthrown.
remember watching that game, and if Cam Newton would have played how he had played all season,
They would have beat
won
him.
it.
Yeah, easily.
Cam Newton just,
He overthrew everybody.
And then this year they was just some sugar honey ice.
they
tea.
were.
That was because their defense was confused.
Yeah.
That was
Well,
the most
dude,
confused defense
If
I've
you
ever
think
seen.
about that,
Josh Norman sucks so bad. Don't talk about. Don't.
no, what I'm saying is
Josh Norman's not that good.
calm down. I'm not saying that either. All I'm saying is that having that front seven play as well as it did the year that they went to the Super Bowl I think it made him look great.
Yeah,
That's why he got that money.
Yeah.
which he
It's
was
fair.
not worth. Which he was.
I don't think he was worth 72.
I think he was to the Redskins.
To the Redskins?
Yeah.
He
Redskins-
wasn't.
But the Redskins have a history of overpaying for players.
No, but I think for their defense,
So is that why they
he
won't pay Kirk
was
Cousins?
worth that. They would have been dumb to not pay him that, and the Panthers would have been dumb to pay him that.
Yeah.
So I think
But
they
now
actually.
we've seen that their secondary's god
Garbage.
awful though.
They might have needed to pay that.
They had a really good secondary. Like their secondary, not really good, but they played really well the year they went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because what was it?
I
Kurt
would've
Coleman had 5-6 interceptions,
Yeah.
and he was the backup safety. What was his name? Trey Boston was actually kind of nice. I think that was the year after his rookie season.
Josh Norman is gonna be what's his name? Joe Hayden. We're
Hayden.
gonna think Josh Norman is really good, and then we're gonna
like a
find
couple
out that
seasons.
he's not that good at all.
Well, Hayden can start anywhere.
Yeah,
To me.
but he's not as good as we thought he was.
He had a few good seasons.
People thought Joe Hayden was like.
But he would keep. The problem with Hayden was that he was getting hurt,
Yeah, I just don't think he's that
and
good.
he was on the Browns.
I know, and I want to like Joe Hayden too.
Yeah,
Looks like a really nice guy.
and he went to like the Saints.
I still can't believe Terrell Pryor went to the Redskins.
That to me was surprising because I
That's-
really thought Cleveland was going to re-sign him.
I think
Why not? That's what I'm saying. I don't understand that either.
because
Why
they're
not resign him?
when
You go get Brock
when you're a
Osweiler.
team as bad as the Browns, it really does make sense to offload all your talent and just start from square one. Because what
But they didn't
would
already done that.
Because every time that they get like decent talent, like
what would Terrell Pryor have done in the
in the season, this next season that he hadn't already done.
Yeah, like they would have just been paying a guy not more than he deserves, more than they want to pay somebody, when they could be signing 2 or 3 people for the same amount of money, 2 or 3 young guys for the same amount of
But
money.
I mean, he only went somewhere for 1 year. What was it like?
It's a 1 year.
That's because he wants to play on a team that isn't trash and get paid more.
Yes.
Okay.
As much as you might dislike the Redskins, I mean, I hate the Redskins, but he can at least showcase what he
With
can
his
do
talent,
more
and then
with
go-
Kirk Cousins
Yeah.
than
Then
Whoever.
Kessler, then
quarterback?
RG3, then McCown.
yeah, absolutely. So he was smart. He was smart. But
And it's also, speaking of like the Browns and stuff like that, when Josh McCown is now your official starting quarterback, aka the Jets starting quarterback, then you know your team is in a rebuild.
why is Jay Cutler not hired yet? You think
Why is he not on the Jets or the
No,
Niners?
I can understand the Jets maybe don't want him.
But I don't understand why the Niners might not want him. That's me, because
what I was gonna say, remember how we were talking about Colin
That
Kaepernick?
makes
He had
sense.
one good year and went to the Super Bowl. That doesn't mean he's like god awful. Remember
Right.
when Rex Grossman went to the Super Bowl?
dude,
No, I don't.
Rex.
Oh yeah, for
Grossman.
the Bears. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I do.
People made that mistake too. People thought, because Rex Grossman had a good year, that maybe he's a top 10 quarterback.
But then he ended up going to like how
Redskins.
many teams?
He went to the Redskins.
Yeah, I know that, but I
It's
can't
sad.
remember how many other teams he was on.
He was
before
not
retired.
good. He was not good. That was another defense that was stacked.
Brian Urlacher.
Oh my god, I don't even want to talk about that
Charles
defense.
Tillman.
Julius Peppers was in his prime.
No, he wasn't on that team yet.
He was.
No, he wasn't. He was on the Panthers still. That was like the year before, and then
You
they got.
sure?
I'm pretty sure that he
No,
wasn't
I
on that
don't
team.
know,
I'm pretty
man.
sure he was still with the Panthers.
No, I think he was on the Browns.
He went back to the Panthers.
Yeah, he did. I think he was on the Browns.
That's a good move by them too. By the way, they need some more veteran presence.
In defensive end is actually one of the best
So what is
positions to have a
Kellen?
veteran. I mean, that's like tried and true. Having old defensive ends who are
So
Charles
Sterling
Johnson.
Bateman washed
Charles
up now.
Johnson, DeMarcus Ware, if you want to call him a D end. I think.
Well,
he
DeMarcus
is.
is retired now.
Well, when he was old, he was still good.
Yeah,
James Harrison is still playing.
well, he's an
a
outside
mon-
linebacker.
He's a
he rushes a lot, but he's an outside linebacker.
yeah.
He
So
was the Steelers.
so is Khalil Mack.
He was the. Khalil Mack's a monster.
Khalil Mack.
He's
is-
the first player
is
to
the
ever.
bet-
Khalil Mack is the first player to ever get All Pro at defensive end and outside linebacker.
He's so good.
we
Did
hear
y'all
you say
drafted
it every.
him? Y'all drafted him?
Hell yeah, we did
Yes.
from Buffalo.
He was like the number 2 or 3
And
pick
he
that
was
year.
8.
He was 8.
mhm.
No, he was higher.
No, I think he was 8.
Had to have been
I think he was our 8th pick.
I think he was number. I think he was
I think
like
he was our
number
8th
2.
pick. No, he wasn't. I think he was like our 8th
Khalil Mack, looking it up right now. What pick was he?
from Buffalo. Because he was one of the people who, even though everyone knew he was gonna be nice, they still convinced themselves that because he
Because he
played
came
at
out of
Buffalo,
Buffalo,
that
yeah.
maybe he wasn't gonna be nice. But all of his
was fine.
stats,
He was
and-
fine.
Yeah, so I was close. Actually, we were equally close. You were 3 away. I was 3 away.
No, it was 2 away.
You weren't. You said 2.
Oh, did I say? Okay, I thought you were saying that I was 3.
No, we were both 3 away
yeah,
from
yeah.
what really happened.
But I mean, anyway.
He said 8. He said 5. It was
Yeah,
Dude,
it was
since he's
He's a
come into the
monster.
league,
Don't even
he
talk
has
about his
30
stats.
sacks,
Don't even talk about his stats.
226 tackles, 8 forced fumbles, a pick, and a defensive touchdown.
Don't even talk about his stats, okay? He's a monster. And you remember his first year when they were like, remember when it took him it was like 9 games to get a sack? And they were like, they literally had to tell people who don't understand football.
That like the reason he's not getting sacks is because he's making problems for other players and they're getting sacks.
They were like, don't think that because he has no sacks that he's not
not
involved
doing
in every play,
Right.
because he is. He's
They
always
have to
in
He's
double
like
team
he's like
him
Vince
in order.
Wilfork when Vince Wilfork
He's
was
a
in his prime.
monster.
Because Wilfork was like there
But
to
he was a
take up 4 linemen at a time so that everybody else on the team could go get the quarterback
And Khalil Mack's the only person who gets better
every season.
when he's tired.
He's gotten better every season.
Somehow in the fourth quarter,
He just turns up.
He gets so much fast, and he's so fast.
Yeah, that's
so fast.
That's
We
the
went
really.
from Colin Kaepernick all the way to Khalil Mack.
You start talking about Khalil Mack. What negative can you say about the man?
You really can't.
He's
He
a
plays for
monster.
the Raiders.
He's so good. What are you talking
Defensive
about?
player of the year now, too.
What about the Raiders? The 12-4 Raiders who only lost in the playoffs
because they didn't have Derek
because
Carr.
our quarterback broke his leg. You
I
can't
just
say it.
wanted-
They had
I just wanted-
McCoy.
I just wanted to talk junk, to be honest. I just,
That's why I love the fact that people can't back.
And you wanted to say anything else too? You guys were one and done in the playoffs too, Cowboys
All right.
fan.
That's
And you
fine.
had everybody.
That's fine.
They had everybody.
Hey,
Can you imagine if you didn't have Dak?
Listen.
That would
Listen.
have been a slaughterhouse.
Listen,
If
we
Dak didn't
have
play that
rookies.
game.
They had
We have
Romo.
rookies.
They
Rookies.
had Romo though.
Rookies.
Changed it. You guys would have won at Romo.
They would have
played. I still think Romo would have won that game,
against the Packers.
especially with experience.
Oh,
What did Dak do? I don't
He didn't-
really
He had
get
him coming
that.
back though.
He didn't-
I will give him
Okay,
that
he
much
didn't
credit.
win.
didn't
Okay,
win.
that's fine.
Well, I'll give
That's
him that. I'll
fine.
give him the credit
But
that
he-
they were down like 20. They were down by like 20 points. I'm pretty sure at one point in the game. And they
Well,
started
see,
coming
the best part about my argument here is it's not a good one. It's an unbeatable one because you did lose, so you can't argue that you maybe would have won with Tony Romo. Do you know what I mean?
Right, and I can't even say nothing to you because Derek Carr just got hurt.
Right.
So let's just.
But
go
I'm
to
just
another
saying, I
topic.
love the
Let's
fact.
just-
This is
let's
the
just
first.
go to another
This is the first
Oh, this
time
is
in
the
my
first
life
time
that someone hasn't been able to say when I say their team sucks that they can't say, well, so does your team.
Yeah.
It doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, all season.
Because we didn't
Every
suck.
time I talk to you, you're like, man, I can't believe that we're winning games.
Oh my god, it made me so happy. Every week I didn't hate my
As long
life.
as
Think
you're not
about this,
a, long as
now
you're
that
not a
the Raiders-
bandwagon.
think about
Long
this,
as you're
now
not
that
a
the
bandwagon.
Raiders
You've
are
been
finally-
a Raiders fan for a while.
Dude, I've been a Raiders fan since the first game I ever saw was the Raiders Buccaneers Super Bowl. That's
Well-
what made
well,
me a
think
Raiders fan. That's the
think
first
about
football
this.
game I ever watched.
Now that the Raiders are finally good, they're moving to Vegas.
I know.
I feel bad for Oakland, man.
I do too.
So,
because-
you said,
But
let
it
me
makes
ask you a
sense
question.
business-wise. It makes sense. I hate that they're going there for the money.
Ooh, it kind of makes sense.
I'm
And
telling you right
Think
now.
about that. Think about that state tax. You go from 13% to 0. That's why it makes sense.
But listen
And
to
then you
this.
have Vegas who are like, oh, we don't have a problem with like building this stadium here and funding the team.
you do know
why?
that we have, and I don't live in Oakland, so I'm gonna say we because I'm a Raiders fan, but I'm not feeling what people who live in Oakland are feeling.
They're pissed.
Because I've never been to a Raiders game.
They're pissed.
Oh yeah, it's
Oakland Raiders fans are consistently forever been known as one of the most, if not top 3 most passionate fans
Oh, that's fair.
in the NFL. Like they throw pennies at people, which is funny. And and apparently you need to sign a release to go into the black hole.
Really?
Yeah, because like
It
you
gets
could
so
get
rough.
stabbed. Like
Yeah.
the chances of you getting stabbed are like really high.
They're serious about their.
Oh yeah,
It's us and the Eagles, so that's what everyone says.
I
Eagles
went to an Eagles game. Eagles
Yeah.
Cowboys.
The Eagles.
Apparently, Eagles
In
fans.
Philly?
The
are
only
just
reason I'm gonna
crazy.
give the
Crazy.
Eagles an edge is because the Eagles have a legit prison in there.
Yeah,
in the
they do.
stadium,
Yeah,
man.
they
They
do.
really do.
No, well, it's a jail, but
It's a jail, excuse me. But it's you can get arrested at the stadium and not even leave the stadium.
yeah,
Be sick in the face.
yeah. The Eagles have violent fans too, but
Yeah. And I'm trying to think, but dude, going to
But
Vegas.
think about if y'all get a rookie, nice rookie.
I'm
Okay,
a-
and he's in Vegas.
Imagine. Well, think about that.
You know how much
Yeah, that's my only issue. That's my big issue with
you
the team
tell.
moving.
Imagine. Okay, look, I hate this, but I'm just gonna bring it up because it's true. Ezekiel Elliott. Okay, he's 21. He's my age, and he's in Dallas,
he's pulling
Texas,
down shirts.
and he's pulling down shirts.
well, I think it has nothing to do with your.
I mean, but
location.
you get what I'm saying. But
Yeah, I mean, look at Johnny Manziel. Where was he? Cleveland.
yeah, but
Yeah.
Johnny Manziel had a. I mean, Johnny Manziel. We already knew.
I
that.
think most players
Manziel wasn't
coming out of
mature enough
college.
for the league.
Yeah, he wasn't already. We already.
But how
knew.
many people out of college really develop like drug problems? I'm just gonna say drugs because I don't know gambling. I doubt there's statistics on that. Or prostitutes.
But,
Well, now they're-
but Johnny
Legal-
Manziel was
legal-
probably, he was probably already doing
legal
every
prostitutes.
drug.
I think we might be better because of the legal prostitutes.
All right.
Our team will have access to legal prostitutes. What will your team have access to? Do you ever think about that? Has
this is
anybody
a great show
has
for
anybody
quotes.
factored in the legal prostitution aspect? If Derek Carr,
Nick, it doesn't matter if it's legal or not. He can still put on the girl's shirt because she didn't say anything.
but if Zeke wanted to go get slippery, he
But
could.
no, because they're
Vegas.
not. Because you know the media is still
Yeah,
going to
he
attack
could.
him.
Yeah, he
The
could.
media-
No,
yes,
not
they
at
will.
those places. The only
Yes,
cameras
they
they got are
will.
the ones that do TV shows.
No, they will do that.
No.
They will tear.
No,
it
they
doesn't
take
matter
it really
if-
seriously.
No,
I'm serious. They're in like the mountains.
no, I'm telling you. The
I'm
media
telling
will
you.
find. Oh, Ezekiel Elliott has went and slept with a legal
If
prostitute.
Zeke went and got slippery, what are they gonna say? It's legal.
But it doesn't matter. It's the media.
course it
it's
matters.
gonna be because it's how it's portrayed.
See,
It's illegal to pull down a woman's shirt.
Okay, it's
That's
how
a-
it's portrayed.
That's a
right?
crime. It's a
how
crime to do
portrayed.
drugs. No, what do you mean portrayed? You saw him do it. I remember when I saw the notification on my
He
thing.
was like,
Oh my god! When I
You
saw
feel me?
they were like Zeke pulls down a girl's shirt, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah, on Bleacher
the
Report.
media. I'm like, he's a black man with money. They're trying to get my man Zeke and tear him down.
Right? And you
No,
look at it,
he tore that shirt
tore
down,
that
and,
shirt
he, and he did it in the most like funny
He was
way
with the
possible.
beard. He was. You know what I'm saying?
And then his boat got searched, like not too long after that. They're already saying Zeke is starting that path, and Zeke has to make a decision now whether he's
whether
going
or
to
not
be.
he's going to end up like
Right.
Manziel or he's going to end up
Right.
as a great running
And he's a
back.
running back, so it's not even like he has as much leeway as a quarterback. As a running back, you can go from being a top running back to no
To
one
garbage.
caring about you overnight. That's
Yeah.
exactly what happened to Maurice Jones-Drew.
Yes. Maurice Jones-Drew is a good
Even
example.
though
Maurice Jones-Drew was a beast when he was with
Right,
Jacksonville.
and even
goes
the-
to Oakland and no one
and
knows
even
who
though
the heck Maurice
Mojo
Jones-Drew
had
is.
had
Yeah,
contract
Mojo.
problems, because that's what he had contract problems until he got traded. He
Yeah.
wasn't bad when his contract problems started. He was still really good.
Mm-hmm.
Literally went to Oakland, and now no one even cares about Maurice Jones-Drew.
Where's he at now? Retired?
NFL Network.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's still doing good stuff with football and everything.
He's
It's
the
just like-
he's the OG Doug Martin. Doug Martin like wishes he was Maurice Jones-Drew.
Dude, Maurice Jones-Drew was so short.
5'7", like
5'7".
230 pounds.
You couldn't put a hand on him.
No, he's a monster. Yeah, it's because how low he was.
Yeah.
They did a science.
I
on
remember.
that.
I remember when they were playing one game and they were about to win it. And they got to the 1 yard line and he took a knee. He was like, "To all my fantasy owners, I'm sorry," because he could have scored a touchdown. and then they let the clock run. He was like,
Because like
"But-"
you couldn't hit Maurice because you know how you hit low. Because hitting high,
You couldn't
you
go-
run a lot of issues doing that.
Right.
You couldn't go low on him. Every time you would go low, all he would have to do was lower his shoulder, and you were going right off of him.
yeah.
Because he was already low.
Yeah.
You couldn't get lower than
He's
how
a
he is.
beast.
He's
man.
he's a monster.
5'7".
Like the thing, getting back to Vegas. My only issue, I feel like a lot of people can think about this and it makes sense, is that having this team in Vegas is your money management. You know, how much does the NFL now have to emphasize? Hey, really hold on to your money. Do you want to become a part of this statistic, or do you want to be outside this statistic?
Regardless,
Well, they always do
regardless,
that.
your players is
But
going to be
it's
in the
a big
media.
emphasis
Whatever
now
they do
because-
is going to be criticized. I'm telling you.
Well, now like all your players
come on, be
have
real,
access to like all these casinos,
Here's the
and
thing.
people and NFL players are already irresponsible
Be real.
with their money.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Some of them. I'm not saying.
I
say
think
all,
the-
but there's
the-
a number of them
the-
who've been irresponsible with their money.
The
is what
main
I'm saying.
issue, right? No matter where you go, you can
Media.
buy the same stuff. You can party just as hard. These are millionaires, okay? So
Yes.
it's not like us. It's not like if we party here or we party in Vegas,
It's gonna be the same.
right? Like they could throw down anywhere they want and they're gonna have a great time. I think the main issue that people are overlooking is the fan base.
Yeah.
Vegas is a vacation spot. Vegas
Oh, yeah.
is a tourist attraction.
Yeah.
The people who live in Vegas, many of them are poor. There's a lot of crappy areas in Vegas. The majority of
agree-
people
I will agree
are
with
poor in Vegas. So we're not going from a place that had a lot of low income people, which Oakland does, to a place that has a lot of high income people. That's not what's happening. They're equally as bad.
The money's just coming in from outside of the state.
So I think that's the main issue. I don't think the whole gambling and all those. What's to stop Zeke right now from getting on a plane and going to Vegas and gambling if he really wants to?
Nothing.
Nothing. He's a millionaire. They don't care about their money, right? They just spend it. So I don't think it's because they're a walk away instead of a plane
I'm just
ride.
saying it incentivizes you a little bit more to go do it. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
More temptation.
But I think
Yeah.
that the
For
players,
the city, of course they want an NFL team because you're bringing in even more people.
I think the players.
And they know them NFL players is going to spend that money.
Of course they
The-
will, but I'm not saying every single one of them does. What I'm saying is like you bring in fans from all over the country to come see the Raiders play in Las Vegas, and while we're here, we might as well go down to the MGM and go, play some poker or something.
I
don't know.
think the players are gonna do what they're gonna do. Like
Regardless.
Zeke and Dak are perfect
you
examples.
can't baby them the entire time you're out there. They're
But
adults.
you do
at a
know
certain
Des
level.
Bryant has a contract where they like.
But like, yeah, Dez.
Well, yeah,
is-
we've talked about Dez's
Dez is
contract.
locked
Yeah.
down. But so like Zeke and Dak are a perfect example, right? I don't know if you'd consider Dallas a place that has a lot of temptations. I don't know. I've never been there.
I mean, it's still big city.
Right, but so Deke and Zach play for the same team, came out the same year. One chooses to spend his time partying.
The other one
One chooses to spend time with his family.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with where you are. If you're motivated to play, you're going to be motivated to play. I think Jamarcus Russell would have ended up being on codeine no matter where he would have got drafted. It has nothing to do with the fact that we drafted him. It's just we got unlucky.
Yeah.
So I don't really put a lot of stock into that.
LSU quarterback.
Especially because he had a cannon. People seem to forget that because it's easy to say now. Oh yeah, Jamarcus Russell was a bad pick. If you watch his highlights, that dude had a friggin' cannon.
The worst draft pick. The biggest bust.
Yeah, he wasn't super fat.
Yeah. The biggest bust was probably Jamarcus. Second, Ryan Leaf, behind him.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's pretty fair.
Well, some would argue Ryan Leaf is a bigger
bust.
Yeah.
But no, he wasn't the number 1 overall pick. He was just the guy who got drafted right after Peyton Manning.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? In the annals of history, it's like, oh, who was the guy who got drafted after Peyton Manning? Ryan Leaf.
Leif.
It's
like strafe, but Leif.
Oh wait, what was that thing we talked about it a long time ago? I'm pretty sure. Like you said, there was a video out there of like Ryan Leaf or something like that doing something.
Talking about how he knows he's the worst. Well, that we talked about this right. Like Greg Oden. Oden said that. Greg Oden was like, I've already come to grips with the fact that I am the biggest bust in NBA history, which makes me really sad because Greg Oden is good at basketball. Mm-hmm. Even now, Greg Oden, if you're playing Greg Oden 1-on-1 in the gym, Greg Oden will school almost every center in the NBA. Almost.
Okay, you see my eyes. Okay, I just want to make sure you see that.
Yeah, almost. No, I mean, I'm not under the illusion that DeMarcus Cousins wouldn't barrel through Greg Oden because he would. But Greg Oden has knee problems. He has leg problems. Greg Oden has a lot of physical issues.
Yeah.
But athletic wise, he's still a great basketball player. Mm-hmm. That's why I feel bad for Greg Oden because it's not like he got out there and played and was bad. Yeah. He's not Kwame.
He just couldn't stay on the court.
Right. He just couldn't play.
Kwame was just too big.
Kwame's got small hands.
Kwame was big. Couldn't dribble. Like Steve, that whole segment with Stephen.
He's got small hands.
He's got small hands. He can't dribble.
Right,
he doesn't know how to run up the court.
Him.
Oh, I thought it was the Bobcats.
No, the Wizards drafted him.
Dude, that whole thing.
That was when Michael Jordan was running the Wizards. He wasn't the owner. He was half owner of the Wizards, wasn't he?
Yeah,
something like that. But he was still playing.
And now he owns the Bobcats.
Yes, he owns the Bobcats.
Yeah, no, he did play for the Bobcats. He did, but he was drafted by the Wizards.
Well, since we're gonna be touching on basketball now, the Cavaliers, are they slowing down? The Warriors ready for another run? What do you guys think about the power rankings that have changed up recently? Because they now have the Celtics, Raptors, and Wizards ahead of the Cavaliers going into the playoffs.
That's stupid.
Celtics, Raptors, and who?
They're the Raptors ahead of the Cavaliers.
The Celtics, Raptors, and the
Wizards.
Wizards.
I will say
power rankings wise, that's what it is. I'm not saying official, like these are the standards.
Yeah,
I'm just
but
saying
I will
power
say this
rankings.
though: you gotta realize with the Raptors, they're still winning games, and they don't even have Kyle Lowry. And what?
The Celtics are winning games without
Are the
Avery
Raptors going to beat the Cavaliers in the playoffs?
Who? All right, let me ask you this.
I mean,
either you think this, who has a better chance, the Celtics or the Raptors?
Raptors.
Why?
Defense. They both play defense.
The Raptors have they were there last year.
Okay.
Which is a big deal. Experience in the playoffs matters. I don't think Isaiah Thomas is that dude who's just gonna
barrel through.
He's not Allen Iverson. He's good. He ain't Allen Iverson.
He's putting up Allen Iverson.
Oh, I'm sure he is, but that doesn't mean he's Allen Iverson.
The Celtics are starting to come together a little bit better now.
And mind you, Allen Iverson
Avery Bradley's
didn't play against LeBron James to get into the finals.
Avery Bradley's there now, though.
He played Kobe in the finals.
He played Kobe in the finals. He didn't have to get to LeBron.
Not to get to him. And mind you, he only won one game in the finals.
The first game.
Yeah.
He won the
Which
first
is only
game.
cool because they hadn't lost yet.
Yeah.
But he still did get smashed.
Yeah. Step over.
Yeah.
Tyronn Lue.
Tyronn.
No, I think I still don't see the Raptors or the Cavaliers doing anything other than going to the finals.
The Cavaliers. I think it's
especially when Kevin Durant
It's hard for
comes
me
back.
to imagine that too.
I think every year we do that.
The two teams that I think have a decent shot.
I would like to see them lose though. Just to see it.
I would see. I'm not saying it would happen, but the teams that are the biggest threats to them are those three teams, and the two teams that I feel like have a really good chance are the Raptors and the Celtics.
Yeah,
the Wizards to me, they're good.
They don't have enough firepower.
I think the Bulls can beat. I mean, obviously they just did, but I think the Bulls can beat the Cavaliers. Can they beat them in a best out of however many series? I don't know. I think the Bulls can beat them. But I'm just saying, I think there are a lot of teams that can beat them in a game. Mm-hmm. I mean, these aren't the Warriors from 2 years ago. They're not untouchable. But I don't think that there's a team out there that can stop LeBron James, no matter how hurt his team is, no matter how inconsistent, I still don't see any team in the East stopping LeBron from doing whatever he wants.
No. And speaking of
Zion Williamson. Sorry, I just
Zion
thought about
Williamson?
I don't know why. I just thought I'd say
he is
You're waiting for Lonzo to come in the league and
You know.
strap him up.
I mean,
Put straps on LeBron.
Hey, Lonzo.
LeBron.
Lonzo's good.
LeBron versus Lonzo. That'd be funny.
I don't think Lonzo's any better than any other prospect we've had in the last couple of years.
Where do you think
He's
Lonzo's
better than
going?
D-Russ.
After this lottery, I want to see
I don't like anybody on the league.
I want to see how the lottery ends up. By the way,
I don't think
I'm just
Brandon
saying.
Ingram is like super special. I don't like. There's no one on the Lakers who I'm like, wow.
I mean,
really
they're
love them
rookie.
on my team.
I'm excited to see
Ben Simmons.
Ben Simmons, yes, but I'm also really curious to see where what the draft order is going to be,
Ben Simmons ain't gonna be that good.
because that'd be interesting. Because
I'm
those
gonna be-
lottery picks, man, you just never know.
And I'm gonna be pissed. I'm gonna be really pissed if we drop out of the top 3.
And the Celtics are in it.
The Celtics are in it regardless. I mean, let's just be
Yeah.
real. The Nets suck.
Who's your team?
He's
Lakers.
a Lakers fan.
Yeah.
I'm a
Who's
Celtics
your
fan.
team, bud?
The Knicks.
Yes, I don't want to hear it. You got the Zen Master, and he's just messing it all up. He gave us 5 rings, though, but I'll take that. But
Chris Stapps could beat your whole team by himself.
Yes.
and y'all still suck.
Curse drafts.
The only reason y'all are doing anything, and y'all
For
still,
for
y'all are
Zinga.
still,
Who's your best player?
huh?
Who's your best player? Who are 2 best players?
D'Angelo, maybe?
D'Angelo Russell and Brandon Ingram.
Nah, I wouldn't
Does
say
Ingram
Julius
even
Randle.
start?
Yeah, he starts. I would say
Really?
Julius Randle, for real, honestly.
Julius Randle and
These
D'Angelo
rounds
Russell.
nice.
Yeah, I would
If you put a 2-on-2 match between Carmelo Anthony,
And
I mean,
Chris
come
Stapps.
on now. I mean, that's Carmelo Anthony's a super. I mean, he's.
I
no,
think
he's not
Chris
a
Stapps
superstar.
1-on-2 could
1-on-2 could beat them. He'd out rebound them for sure.
He's
Y'all
so
still
good.
suck.
KP, yeah, we do.
And
Both-
we are still. we still suck
both
more.
both of
You guys
y'all's
suck
team-
less.
Yeah.
Both of y'all's teams are garbage.
Yeah,
guys
I'll
suck.
take it.
I'm one of the persons here with a
Hey,
playoff team.
I mean, I don't want to hear that either.
I'm honestly so
but I'm
close
not
to
gonna
just
sit here and be like,
saying
oh, my
Tristan
huge
bandwagon.
basketball.
Like honestly, I'm so close to just claiming that Tristan's a bandwagon.
I like all the Boston teams. What's wrong with that? I've stuck with Boston.
He likes all the winning teams. You stuck with the Patriots, and by the way, the Celtics have been were one of the best teams for like how many years? The whole time.
I mean, honestly, they haven't had a bad period. Honestly,
No,
I don't
Boston.
think so.
Boston's
Like,
a
even-
city.
They
even
went from
when
being,
they-
they went from being amazing.
I will say this: Boston is a city
to
of winning
being
teams.
amazing, right? They went from the Bill Russell era, who's the GOAT. Then they went to the Larry Bird, Robert
Yeah.
Danny
Parrish,
Ainge.
and Danny Ainge era,
Then to the big 3.
GOATs, into the big 3, and to now having a little man calling the shots. It's like
It's ridiculous. And they like how come my Lakers in? I'm pissed. Like we go from you know we having
favorite word
Kobe,
today?
you know we winning rings. We got Shaq and Kobe. Boom.
Got
Okay, it's
5?
good. We got Magic. You know what I'm saying? We doing good. We
but
got
you
the
guys have had
rings.
just as good of a history as actually that's not
No.
because they've beaten you.
We got more championships.
Over-
than
I got
Lakers.
17. We got 16.
Yeah.
Well, that's because what's it called? That's because
Russell had 11.
that's
of
because
those.
that's because Wilt just couldn't get past Bill.
Yeah,
He did once.
but Bill Russell was the defensive. Go.
12 times.
Out of 12,
11.
11 and 1, Bill Russell.
That's just. I was talking about Wilt Chamberlain the other day. How when they started counting assists,
Yeah,
that he became the assist leader.
really.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. You ever read the Book of Basketball by Ben? What's his name? Bill Simmons.
Bill Simmons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Read if you get bored, read that book. That dude knows basketball more than anybody on this planet, and he wrote a book on it, and it's amazing. They talk about that. Talk about when they created the shot clock, and they were essentially they were saying because Wilt Chamberlain was a stat
Stuffer.
hoarder. That's all he cared about. When they started counting, he knew that points and rebounds were the only thing counted. So then as soon as assists started being counted, he noticeably gave up points and rebounds just to
more
get
assists.
assists. Yeah. So that's where his stat mongering comes in because they were like, he actually didn't care about winning. He just wanted to look good,
Yeah.
which
I mean,
which sucks.
it still kind of happens.
But not to the obvious effect that he did it.
No.
So
100
Talk
points in
about
a
Russ.
game.
so let's just say the Lakers
Russ?
get.
Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
Russell Westbrook's team is nowhere near as good as Wilt Chamberlain's team
No.
was.
They never. It's not.
That's the
But
other thing people seem to
Russell
forget.
Westbrook's a monster in his own right.
That's
too.
the other thing people seem to forget is how
MVP?
stacked all of those teams were back then.
For the Lakers?
For every team.
just every team?
Every team in the NBA was stacked back then because there were barely any. There was, I think it was like 16 teams, something like that. There's barely any teams, and they all had 2 or 3 All-Stars on them. Every single team. You ever seen the Lakers versus Celtics lineups?
Oh, the old one?
They're riddled with legends, both of them. Like, I'm telling you, those teams were so good. The Knicks were really good. The Knicks had I almost said the F word. The Knicks had he's like one of my favorite players of all time. I can't. Why am I
snapping in the air and gonna make
Oh,
it
you know,
Patrick Ewing.
no, the point guard.
Oh, John's.
No, you're thinking. I know you're thinking of John Starks. Walt Frazier. Walt Frazier was a beast. Those teams, Willis Reed was a beast. Those teams were stacked. Patrick Ewing was a little later. Walt Frazier was.
Since we're still on topic of basketball, might as well move into our March Madness Final
Russell
Four.
Westbrook stole the looks from.
Gonzaga and Oregon.
Gonzaga and Oregon. That's your picks. I have a complete opposite. I'm gonna take UNC and
For the finals?
South Carolina. Yeah. I'm gonna take South Carolina just because I want to see the upsets. That's really all it is.
Well,
and I had UNC in my my championship game.
Ever since I did my bracket, ever since my bracket went awry,
Yeah.
because I had Gonzaga going to the Final Four. I think now I probably have Gonzaga, Oregon.
Right now, I might as well just go look back at my bracket.
North Carolina's good though.
My winning percentage is at 75%. I have 690 points.
I just deleted mine.
Really?
After Villanova lost,
Really?
and I just stopped. I was like, whatever.
Everybody was pretty upset after that,
Yeah,
actually.
because it's stupid. Brackets are just
No,
stupid.
you're still number 1 in ours.
Am I?
Yeah, 93.6%.
Well, what are you gonna do? I haven't looked at ours. Oh no, I literally deleted. Can you pull that up? Can I see that? I literally deleted the ESPN app because I do mine on Yahoo. I do all
Yeah.
my fantasy on Yahoo. I do all my tournament brackets on
This
Yahoo.
is your bracket. It should be.
How do I look?
But no, just because I like upsets, and I picked quite a few for my bracket originally, I kind of want to see South Carolina take this thing the whole way. Because most of these like sleeper teams, like these Cinderella teams,
this is the
don't
one
make it past like the Sweet 16.
This is the one I picked Duke winning because I had Duke losing in the first round in my other one. So I was like, if they're not losing the first round, they're gonna win that thing. And then
Yeah,
I mean,
mine
South
right
Carolina-
here.
I was one round off.
South Carolina with the major upset.
I'm at 96%. How's that possible?
I'm at 82.
No, 94%.
I'm at 82.
It's because my first round.
If South Carolina and UNC go to this championship game, I'll freak out.
That's because my first round
Also
was
because
really
you're
good.
picking the opposite too,
Tens.
which would just make me laugh.
Look at all this green. That's because my first round was great. Only 2 off there. Only 1 off there. 3 there. That's because my first round was amazing. I was talking to you as each game was happening, and I
You're
was
like, dude, I can't believe like the
I was
first,
8
the first
for
day.
8. I was 8
the
for
first
8
day.
the first day.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, this could be the year. And then what's it called?
Day
Lost.
2 happened.
And then Vanderbilt lost to Northwestern in that stupid fouling him in the last second.
Oh
thing.
yeah.
And then as soon as that happened, I was like, great, my bracket's done.
That's it. Only 640 something people had the Final Four as it was. Not like the whole bracket perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Just that little spot.
Once, I can't remember once someone lost, everyone's bracket busted.
Was it in Villanova?
No,
Was it Xavier beating Arizona?
maybe.
Because I had Xavier. I had Arizona beating Xavier.
I think it was like in the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
I think they said only 13 brackets
We're
in
perfect.
the country had the Sweet 16 all right.
Mhm.
So it was like,
That's crazy.
I'm sure every bracket.
isn't
is
it great
busted
how
by
you
now.
always think you have a chance to do good in it, and then
Right.
and then
that
reality
shit-
kicks
that
in.
stuff happens.
Yeah.
It's like the lottery. Every time I fill out lottery numbers, I'm like, this is the time.
Of course.
My time to shine.
It's that little bit of dopamine that gets you.
I'm gonna be a millionaire. And then when the numbers come out and I literally got none right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, that's why.
Remember that Mega Millions from years ago, where it was like some absurd like $1 billion number?
Mm-hmm.
I did it, and I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
I did mine, and I filled it out. And I was like, I'll just pick numbers that I like. So I picked like 12, 23, like Patriots, and like I picked like 23 because of Michael Jordan.
I think it was at like 900 something million at that point.
It was over $1 billion.
That's crazy money.
It was like $1 billion.
I mean,
like
after it's taxed, it's only going to be like 500 mil, but only.
Well, no, like a few people won it. Like they just split it to, like,
eventually.
three.
Yeah, eventually. That only happens because every week, if no one wins, it just keeps climbing.
Yeah, exactly. That's insane.
The lottery.
I couldn't imagine having.
If only.
Dude, like I couldn't. It'd be hard for me to imagine having that much money. Like that's why I think it's hard for me to imagine, NFL players being safe with their money.
Well, and also they have a lot of things to pay for. I think it was the NBA. Someone broke down. They were like, if you make this much per year, here's how much money you actually have, and they broke down all the fees they have to pay just to be in the NBA.
Really?
And like all these things. I think it was like if you have like, let's say you make $5 million a season, you only end up with like $1 million afterwards.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was something ridiculous. So it was like,
Yeah, but they always when they sign a contract, they get that money. Like regardless or not.
but they have things they have to pay for. Like in the NBA, they have things that the NBA forces them to pay for. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but also like.
But if you have endorsements, it's a different deal. Like LeBron could make nothing from the NBA, and he would still be.
LeBron is a lifetime deal.
LeBron makes $2 million a week.
He also is a part owner of Liverpool. And soccer team is brilliant.
Dude, LeBron has a lifetime deal with Nike. He's never not gonna have money.
So does Kevin Durant.
Well, yeah, but that's a ton of money. That's like about $1 billion.
Like a 10-year deal, didn't he?
No, Kevin Durant signed a lifetime one recently. They're all over $1 billion.
That's an insane amount of money.
I know. Jordan's still a billionaire.
Of course, but Jordan makes like double what he ever made in his playing career.
Did you ever watch the?
Shoes.
Did you ever watch the OJ? Did you watch the OJ documentary?
I did, but it's been a minute.
One of the things they talk about is how they said OJ, even though the black community thought he was being framed and all the white community wanted him to go to jail, they were saying that he had actually separated himself from the black community, and like he didn't have only his family members. He had nobody else in the community that he was friends with. He played golf, he went to a rich restaurant. He was surrounded by white people. That's the criticism of Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Because all these issues, you never hear Michael Jordan say a word. Which he should be. It's his obligation to. Think about how many people Michael Jordan still to this day motivates, and he's still like somebody that people want to aspire to, and he doesn't say a word, which I think is an issue.
Well, I think it's if he says something, then your brand just suffers.
Right.
And
He doesn't want to anger the rich white people.
well, it's a way to put it.
Is that not what it is? I mean that's
possibly.
what it is. That's what it is.
Honestly,
That's the way
he
to
just
put
wants
it.
to stay. He wants to stay neutral.
He's so concerned about his own affairs.
He's so neutral. I mean,
Right.
shoot, he didn't made it that far. I would be too.
Yeah, but LeBron, Carmelo, Chris Paul,
Yeah, all these
Dwayne
guys will
Wade,
say stuff.
all of them can go out in the beginning
And
of the
now at this,
ESPYs
now I
and
think
talk
it's
about
at this point where
these problems. But
I think
Michael
it could
Jordan
be
can't.
at this point now
Kobe
where
don't.
Mike feels like he's like, well, I haven't said anything for so
Kobe
long.
don't either.
Now, if I start saying stuff,
Kobe's white.
then people are gonna be like, well, why weren't you saying things before? Wait, what did you say?
So Kobe's white.
That's why I love him.
When you look at Kobe, I mean, isn't he married to a white woman too?
She's Hispanic or something like
Oh,
that.
Kobe.
But you know what? They had him
was
on
so good.
First Take the other day, and they asked him. He said,
He's so good.
I think it was Max Kellerman. Asked him. They said,
Max.
I can't hear him
he
talk
said,
about sports.
Yo, Max.
so what should we do about the Lakers? He said,
Put me on there.
No, this is what he said. He said, what you asking me for? I don't work for him. I was like, okay, Kobe. Okay.
Kobe don't care.
He don't care
Kobe's
at
got
all.
He's done now.
Like he's like, what are you asking
Kobe
me for?
can
I
go
don't work for
enjoy
him.
life. Like
He was like, I'm not working for him.
If I was-
They can call me
if
if
I
they
was
want
Kobe,
to. I don't
so
work for
dude,
him.
if I was Kobe, the amount of things I would do outside of the Lakers just to mess with NBA players would be hilarious. Like, just imagine, like, oh, the Lakers are playing, like, the Pistons.
Or like he should wear his own jersey.
Yeah, just, like, show up.
Show
wearing
up
his
to a
own
game
jersey.
wearing his own jersey.
Ready to show up in uniform.
Show up full uniform, like you're about to go
But be in the
play.
crowd.
Yeah, just cheering.
Word.
No,
You're wearing
think about this.
sneakers and
Kobe
everything.
would go to Kobe when he was hurt, and like he wouldn't even support the team. That's Kobe. Kobe would
He
be
would
there.
he would be
mad.
behind the stand.
He would
Yeah,
be mad
man-
when they lost.
Because mainly he was
Or no,
playing hurt.
He would be mad when they win. I remember seeing like some stuff like after they'd win a game because they did so bad and they finally win a game and they celebrate. He'd just sit there and just,
Yeah, because he's pissed.
he'd be upset.
Yeah.
Because like I want to be out there first off. I'm sure, but it's more of like you can't.
He's so good.
You can't like just be like glad for your team.
They said he was like one of the worst teammates ever, but
He pretty much ran. If it weren't for Phil being there his entire career, he would have ran the Lakers by him. So he would have legit had
he did
LeBron
run- I
James.
think he did run
He
the
had a
Lakers.
huge say. He'd have like but he'd be like LeBron James level of like, okay, I want this player.
I mean, he literally told him.
I want Larry Sanders on my team. That's what LeBron
remember when
James
he was getting
said.
old?
Yeah.
And people were like, "Oh, Kobe might leave the Lakers," and then they responded by signing him to a huge contract.
Yeah.
Because Kobe made so much money for that team. Like, no matter how good his basketball
Kobe was like the Lakers.
Right, people don't understand that. People are like, well, Kobe sucks. Why does he make so much money? It's the same reason why Dirk still plays for the Mavericks. Granted, Dirk takes pay cuts.
Yeah.
But
Kobe didn't. What Dirk has
But
done
Kobe
for Dallas,
is
Kobe
like,
didn't.
even if Kobe isn't on the court when he was playing, like he is the brand for
right,
the
but like
Lakers.
Dirk could still make the same amount of money.
How? He hasn't done what Kobe done for the Lakers. He
Well,
doesn't
he's
deserve
got a
this.
championship.
Dirk
Huh?
Nowitzki is
Yeah, but
is their marketing.
Yeah.
I mean, he is, but not to the caliber.
What
of
you
Kobe.
get being a Mavericks
No, but
fan
that's what he means to the Mavericks. It's the same
is
thing
he
Kobe
is-
means to the Lakers.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not saying he's the same level player. We're not saying he's as
He
good.
is their
we're
fan
saying
base.
That we're saying that if you were trying to sell jerseys and you let go of Dirk Nowitzki, you would not sell nearly as many jerseys
Right.
as you did.
Okay, I agree.
Like
That's basically what we're
it's
saying.
not just a basketball standpoint
Yeah.
when you sign players. You also sign them for who they are.
Like when Michael Jordan was on the
Bryant
Wizards,
jerseys?
you think that they weren't selling Michael Jordan jerseys when he was on the Wizards?
Wizards signed him. Yeah, yeah. It's like I'm
But he was part owner too, though.
But he stepped down to go play. Is all I'm saying. It's like you think that he wasn't selling.
Same thing with
jerseys.
Iverson. Why do you think the Nuggets sign Allen Iverson? I see just as many Al Iverson Nuggets jerseys
And Pistons
as I do
jerseys.
in Pistons jerseys as I do 76ers, if not more.
Don't forget Grizzly jersey.
You still see LeBron James jerseys from the Heat being people walking around in them. I still see
You
it.
got to be a really sad individual to wear.
You
a LeBron
do,
James
but I'm still
jersey.
saying that I've seen it.
I still have my old LeBron James Cavaliers jersey.
Really?
Back in the old days, remember when I you don't remember this? I used to have posters on my wall. Remember from like the book things in school? Did you ever go to those things?
Yeah,
where you
yeah,
could buy
yeah.
posters. I had a Kevin Garnett poster when he was on the Timberwolves.
Yeah.
I had a LeBron James poster, and I had a Tim Duncan poster.
And I'm not gonna say that Wes Welker was this
Had
kind
the
of
Kobe
player for
poster,
the
I had
Patriots,
the
but I do
Kobe
have a
poster.
Wes Welker Patriots jersey.
It's like
so-
Tim Duncan. It's like Tim Duncan for the Spurs. Tim Duncan could have played for the Spurs for 10 more years had he decided not to retire. Tim Duncan is to the Spurs what Dirk Nowitzki is to the Mavericks, and what
Oh, speaking of like people who would play for forever, they did a simulation from 2K for like 20 years, and Manu Ginobili was still playing for the Spurs.
Manu's good.
Yeah.
And his play style, he just shoots. Did you see that?
I
Tom-
thought it was really funny. It was like even though he's like 100 years old, he's still playing for the Spurs.
I hate when people retire in games because they're old.
Yeah.
But in real life, you know there's no way
like
they would
if
retire.
I'm playing a fantasy draft on Madden, as much as I'm a huge Tom Brady fan,
Did you see he just said that he just notified the Patriots he's going to play for 67 more years?
67.
627.
I thought you were saying 67. Yeah, I saw that.
You shared it on Facebook.
Isn't
I
that,
did, yeah.
isn't that crazy?
I think that's funny.
Isn't
So
that
now Jimmy
terrifying?
Garoppolo is definitely leaving.
Isn't that terrifying?
For NFL teams?
Think about that. So
I'm gonna just.
No, but like
I'm going to be 28 before my team can win a Super Bowl.
Something that happened.
Oh,
That's so
man.
dark. Like I'm going to be almost 30 before my team has a shot.
Oh,
Actually, it's a lie. I think we have the best shot
to
in the
beat
AFC
the Patriots.
to beat you guys. Yeah.
probably. Unless like the Pittsburgh Steelers decide to actually play like a really really good organization again, because they make the
They're so
playoffs,
weird. They're
but
so
they've only beaten the Patriots once since Tom Brady's been there. Once. And that,
They've had stacked teams too.
yes, they have.
Yeah.
Offense and defense.
Yeah, they've had really good teams.
But
the
no,
Steelers.
to get to the point where like you simulate and whatnot through the games and people retire. That's why I will never draft Tom Brady in Madden. Is because I'd have him for like 1 or 2 seasons.
He's also a dumb. They what do you call that? They show favoritism towards young players. In
Yeah,
Madden
they do.
Games.
You can progress players and keep
So
them,
easily.
You can make them so nice within like 2 seasons.
Yeah, what is it?
on that.
Cam Newton now is like always the number one.
Yeah. Or Andrew Luck.
Or Luke Kuechly. Like
Because they're just so like
well,
because they're young.
Luke Kuechly is a number one pick.
Yes.
That,
But-
I'm not gonna badmouth.
But if
Luke
you're
Kuechly.
picking quarterbacks, it's always like Cam Newton. Like Aaron Rodgers doesn't even go to like the middle of the
Yeah,
round. so you
yeah,
can do a
yeah.
fantasy draft on the game.
yeah,
which is crazy.
Dak will probably be up there now.
Yeah.
Derek Carr
He'll be like a
definitely
90
up there.
overall or something. Derek Carr, yeah, that makes
Derek Carr is
sense.
better than Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
He's been in the league longer, so let's just take that into account.
Give it if Derek Carr were to snap both of his legs and not play next season, he'd still be better than Dak Prescott.
That's true.
He's been in the league a little bit longer. He has a little bit more experience. Dak is a rookie, so I would take that.
Dak Prescott.
Well, if Dak Prescott wins the Super Bowl before Derek Carr, then I'll start saying maybe.
I won't.
Maybe.
That's dirty.
That's-
I mean, wow, he won a Super Bowl. You don't want to give my team no credit. I just don't understand. You know this man
That's
in
not
front
true.
of you.
I like the Cowboys.
I like Dak. I have nothing against Dak.
I'm
just saying Derek Carr is that nice.
Yeah, I think people need to be realistic when they talk about their teams. I like Dak. I like Zeke. I think they're both really good.
I didn't say that he was better.
Like,
than
I'm not
him,
under the
man.
illusion that Amari Cooper
As much
is
as you guys will tout and say I probably am not, I think I'm pretty realistic about the Patriots.
because there is no limits.
Like it should.
Just like my show. There is
Just
no
like
there's
a
no
show.
limits to being a Patriots fan. Like, you wake up every morning, every Sunday, and you know you're supposed to win. Like,
For now.
Next
and then
subject.
if you lose 1, 2, or 3 times
Next
a year,
subject. I don't want to talk about them sorry sap monkeys.
well, we're done.
Yeah,
I
we're just
don't-
about here
I
at the end of the
don't-
show
I
now.
really, let's just hang it up on the Lakers,
about the Cowboys?
Duke,
Sorry
and
sap
Cowboys.
monkeys?
So here,
See,
what's-
look, see, I ain't even say the Raiders.
I like
are sorry.
But now we have reached the conclusion of this week's show. So thank you everybody for tuning into the Rines Report so far. Be sure to tune into the Rines Report weekly every Friday at 10 a.m. But if you can't, check us out on YouTube on Saturdays, as well as on Facebook when you search the Rines Report. Rines is how you spell Rines. You can also find these pages through my website, tristanblakerines.com. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. About having both of these guys on next week, hopefully, barring any sickness,
Barring any illness.
barring any crazy illnesses. So thank you guys very much for joining us. Adios.